Welcome to an exciting live stream about the NFL free agency tampering period. And we have probably our biggest guest ever. Yeah, I think our biggest guest ever. Andrew Erickson is here. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm always happy to talk free agency frenzy, especially here on a Monday when it's still legal tampering period. So none of these deals are technically official till Wednesday, but I don't even know why. I don't even know why it's called legal tampering. It's like, yeah, like we can make deals, but no one's official. And then we always see a couple situations where I think it was like a couple years. I don't remember how many years ago it was that Frank Gore deal, where it's like Frank Gore was going to be an Eagle, and they're like, nah, like he's not going to be an Eagle. He's going to
Yes.
be a Colt. And that was weird. And I think last year it was with Randy Gregory, like he signed with Dallas, and then he moved back to like, no, I'm gonna be a Bronco. So maybe we get something like that to spice things up a bit. But right now, the headline news is Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a Raider, back with Josh McDaniels. It's kind of lackluster, but hey, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, I love it. It's always nice when I have someone on the show that I actually listen to their content. Usually, what I do, did not have time to do it today, but I usually prepare some of their past things that I've heard. I don't go out of my way if I don't actually listen to their stuff, but for someone who's on Fantasy Pros, I've listened to many, over 100 probably of your shows. They're all very good, but I usually come prepared with some takes that I remember if I know I agree or disagree. But I totally spaced on doing that. I do know you liked Cortland Sutton. I do remember that one.
Yeah.
But
still
no,
stings.
I know. Yeah, I was listening to your show recently, but everything. This has been a crazy week for me, like life and news wise. So it just kind of slipped out of my mind what you said. But we have. There you are.
Hey, sorry, camera was.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, we might. Hutch is probably going to appear at some point when school is over, for him. But yeah, I was just asking Andrew, tell us like about a little bit of what you talked about maybe last week in your content, like about people going into free agency. Did you have any like interesting thoughts or anything you wanted to share with the people?
Well, the one thing that I was like super gun ho about was Odell Beckham being a Buffalo Bill. And it has nothing. I mean, he obviously flirted with them a little bit, like heading into last year into the playoffs. So like, there's some connection and some interest there that's just kind of apparent. But then the one thing that like I drew like my biggest conclusion was the Bills hired a new wide receiver coach, and this wide receiver coach coached Odell Beckham Jr. at LSU, in New York, in Cleveland, and soon to be Buffalo. Like that, it's an interesting science. Like, why would they bring this guy in? Like, he's not a household name. His name is Andrew Henry, I believe. I'm sure that. I had no idea who he was until I was like, oh wow, like he has literally been everywhere where and it's been when Odell Beckham's had some of his better seasons. It wasn't in these bad seasons with the Giants or with the Browns that he was the wide receivers coach. So I just thought it was an interesting nugget because a lot of the time, like again, this is real jobs. And how do you get real jobs? You network. Who do you know? Like, do you feel comfortable in this situation? Now, we like to obviously try to like pinpoint where it's like team needs, like this team needs a receiver, this team needs a running back, where it's really like, who are the coaches? Like, what is this player's lifestyle like? Like, I'm sure Jalen Ramsey wanted to go to Miami because like, oh yeah, there's no income tax. Like, yes, like send me there. It's warm. So we tend to sometimes overlook that information. I try to take that extra step to look into those types of connections when I'm trying to peg players landing in certain places. Is there a coaching connection already in place? And a lot of times that actually will lead to teams getting signed in certain places. With last year with Raheem Mostert, I was always pegging into the Dolphins because Mike McDaniel was there, and that's where he ended up. So those are some of the things I look at, and the Odell Beckham one kind of point out because it's like a lot of teams could use him, obviously, and he looked pretty good in that workout. So if he's back to 100%, like he would be my number one receiver in this free agent class for sure.
Oh, really? So that's interesting. You would prefer, like, if you were an NFL team, you'd prefer to sign Odell over, like, I think for most people, either Juju or Jacoby Myers are the two names. I think the NFL seems to like Jacoby Myers a little bit better. But so you would prefer Odell over either of those?
Yeah, I think that Odell has way more of an upside in terms of just like on a play-to-play basis. Like he can help flip the field versus Jacoby, who I think is more of a steady body commodity. And I don't think he's a true difference maker. I think he's a good player. And then Juju, the thing with him is I still think he has some weird knee problem. Like he's hit the open market like 3 different times. And I've read things where he's had to get certain, like he said, to get his knee drained at certain times. And that's why every time he hits free agency, he gets a 1-year deal worth like under $10 million, because nobody wants to commit to him long-term because they know about his knee problems, or one specific knee problem. So that's why they don't commit to him. And then, hey, he makes it through the year and then he's okay. But the last couple of years, he has been more banged up than actually on the field.
Yeah. So David, you're here. And to start, I know you have like a big obsession, or you really like Kyle Pitts, right?
I don't mind him.
You don't mind it. How do you feel about the Falcons trading for Jonnu Smith? How do you feel about that? Why don't we talk about that?
It doesn't affect my Kyle Pitts valuation in any way, shape, or form.
That's the correct take.
I like that. I agree that it's correct. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
I think some people are taking it both ways. I mean, obviously they're trading for Jonnu Smith. Some people are taking that somewhat as a negative. Don't really see why. Some people are trying to kind of spin it into a positive where, okay, now they have Jonnu, they can use him in line as a blocker. Kind of frees up Kyle Pitts to be used more in like that slot wide receiver role as opposed to being kind of held in on blocking plays. But Atlanta also had a blocking tight end last year in Parker Hesse, and they were still kind of using Pitts and stealing some of his routes and turning them into blocking plays. So for me, I think the concerns with Kyle Pitts is more coaching staff, quarterback related. And I don't really think Jonnu Smith alleviates either of those. Don't get me wrong. I'm still absolutely all in on Kyle Pitts for Dynasty. I'm not trading him where I have him, unless you're giving me Mark Andrews and like a plus. Other than that, I'm not really.
So then you're not trading him, is what you're
I'm
saying.
not really
You're
interested.
not going to get that, so you're not trading.
I just got Andrews a 208, I think, and a 3 in a league.
People hate Kyle Pitts. I'm surprised you were able to get that.
A lot of people don't hate Kyle Pitts. The people who hate Kyle Pitts I don't think they'd ever rostered him in the first place. Yeah. So I think that's kind of like a split group there. But yeah, Jonnu Smith is not really changing anything for me in any way, shape, or form.
It's one of those things. I think the hope here is that Jonnu Smith comes in and he takes over what the team had Parker Hesse and Michael Pruitt and Anthony Ferks, or all these other random tight ends that they'd have in rotation doing their own specific thing. Like, the hope is that Jonnu kind of comes in, takes those guys' role, and like you said, kind of frees up Pitts to be more of an attacking weapon and not have to be stuck in. But also, like you said, I think it's more of a coaching staff problem rather than, not believing in the talent or anything like that. So, and I think it's, somewhat of a concern that obviously Jonnu, some of his best years came with Arthur Smith back on the Titans. And like, how much is he really going to be involved with, the familiarity with the coaching staff? And so I really hope, I don't think it's going to move Pitts down or any real huge value change. But we really have to hope that this is really more to take away all those auxiliary kind of options that were kind of filling in separate little roles for the team and kind of let Pitts and Jonnu be the main two.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I'm sorry. I just want to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, this was
what are we playing?
This was
a Coke?
No, this was a subject change. So go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, too, it's important to identify what the actual problems were with Kyle Pitts' production this year from a fantasy perspective and why he was not producing fantasy points. And even though he was blocking at a higher rate than we like, that was not really like the main thing we have to overcome. Like, his yards per route run was not bad. He was the second highest target rate behind Mark Andrews at the tight end position. The issue was routes run in passing volume in Atlanta, and that they were just passing at such a low volume. And when we have Arthur Smith in place and Desmond Ridder in place, that's what we need to change or improve. Not really the pass blocking percent by 5% or whatever it's going to end up being.
Okay. So quick subject change. Well, related, same trade, different team. Do we have any interest in Hunter Henry now? because I do feel that when Hunter Henry was playing over the last couple of years, he's been somewhat usable for fantasy at times. But the problem was that he was splitting a little too much of both the playing time and the tight end target share with Jonnu Smith. Now Jonnu Smith is gone. Does that open up any value for Hunter Henry, or are we thinking that it's just mostly not much?
I mean, if the team doesn't also, I mean, if Jacoby Myers is gone too.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah, he's definitely gone.
Look, I mean, someone's got to catch the ball. Like Hunter Henry's not this dynamic, after the catch savant that we thought, Jonnu Smith really more is in that offense, but he's good enough. Like he was fine his first year because he caught a bunch of touchdowns. Obviously, the touchdowns weren't there last year, but we've seen Hunter Henry produce as a usable fantasy tight end in multiple stints throughout his NFL career. He was when he came into the league, he was a former first round pick. He had good draft capital when he came into the end. I can't remember exactly who was the first second round pick.
He was a second round pick.
Second round pick. Yeah. So he came in with good draft capital. So it wasn't like some Joe Schmo type of player. And I think that he's going to be usable. I mean, if he's just like out there and people just don't want him, then I think that it makes him somewhat valuable. Like the thing is you can't pay up for the non-athletic tight ends. Like you just find whoever's the cheapest of they're throwing the ball a lot. He catches a lot of passes. It's like with Austin Hooper or Dalton Schultz. Like we see these guys have good seasons when they play in offenses that throw the ball a ton, but then the minute they become expensive, you get out. And that's what's going to happen with Dalton Schultz probably when he signs a big deal somewhere. It's like, yeah, you need to get out because his situation will probably not be better than it was in Dallas, where he was basically the number 2 receiver because they had no one besides Lamb. They were throwing the piss out of the ball. I mean, he might go to the Patriots, and then it's a horrible it's a horrible up and down the board. So, yeah, I mean, I think Hunter Henry would probably be an interesting buy for me as a tight end, just someone to kind of plug a roster hole. He's not an elite asset in any way. But if people are just going to overlook him, it's like, well, they need pass catchers, and he would be the default number 1 if they got rid of Jacoby Myers because they just don't have a lot of faith in a lot of those other guys like Devontae Parker, Tyquan Thornton. They hate Kendrick Bourne.
They hate. I've never seen them hate like a team hate
so
someone
bad.
like that.
Every time
it
he
hurts
steps on
my
the field,
soul.
he's like super efficient, catches touchdowns.
The most
like, all right, get off
explosive
the field.
player.
Don't get it. I really don't get it. I will say though, this is always the time with a player like Hunter Henry, who, to be honest, I don't want, and I think is a roster clogger. This is an opportunity where Hunter Henry is kind of in the news. It's for Dynasty, that's mostly what we focus on here. You could put him on the block. If I could get a couple of thirds for Hunter Henry, I would just move on. I think this might be one of the only times he has any value. So yeah. I don't care for him.
I agree. Especially we talk about this rookie tight end class. And some of the tight ends who might slip into the 3rd round rookie drafts. I'm seeing Sam Laporta, who's going to be
I will say
a 2nd round pick. Probably he's much more athletic than Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't think it's probably. I think it's will be.
Yeah, well, he could slip into the back end of the 1st. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's more likely than him slipping into the 3rd. I think he's going to be a top 50 pick. Is the buzz on him is so. I mean, to give you an idea, we talked about a 3rd round valuation on Hunter Henry. I have 6 tight ends rated in my top 36 rookies, in that format. So I am thinking this is going to be a good year. If you want to draft a tight end, it's a good year. It's not common that in a rookie class, I look at tight end 5, who is Sam Laporta for me, tight end 5. And that's actually someone I want. That's actually exciting. I'm actually excited about
the thing
Sam
with
Laporta.
Hunter Henry, though, like he doesn't have a bad profile himself. Like,
no, he's not bad.
Andrew said he was a 2nd round pick. He was an early declare. He was productive in college. His first 4 years of his career, he had over 10.6 per game, and then he was hurt. So he had some injuries, you can talk about somebody's got to catch the ball, but then again, somebody had to catch the ball in Chicago last year. Somebody had to catch the ball
Nobody did, right?
in New England last year, and it didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So the problem, again, is New England. They were 21st in passing attempts per game. Talk about, if they lose Jacoby Myers, it could be even more run-oriented. What are they going to have to offer beyond Hunter Henry? So I'm not really overly enthused. If I have him already stuck on my bench and I can't sell him, I'm more enthused about maybe being able to use him on a bye week, but that's about it.
So let's go to some of the questions in the chat, because I always like to focus on the questions in the chat because the people come in. There were so many questions. I did a stream about the Panthers and the Bears trading for number 1 overall pick. That might have been the most questions I've seen in a live stream in quite a while. People were so interested in talking about that. And I suggest if you're watching, how do I fix this? Ryan,
I was wondering if that was my headphones.
Aha. No, I meant how do I?
Oh, gee, I'm like hearing like cracking noise.
I do hear that cracking noise.
Some Rice Krispie treats.
I meant how do I shift it so it doesn't cover your guys' beautiful faces? Because I think we all want to see that. Let's see. Mystical Child says part 1 of 2. I do hear that. Yeah, it's weird. Hey guys, how's it going? I appreciate you all for being here. Got a big boy trade offered, 10-team Superflex, full PPR, start 11. Got offered 101, Cooper Cup. Where's the second part? And 22 second.
We're missing.
Yeah, let's try muting things.
Just mute each person one by one and you can figure out who the culprit is.
Yeah. Okay, it's not David. I think it's Conan. I just muted
ding,
Conan.
ding, 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 ding.
I think I just muted Conan and it went away. Oh, I'm getting a call from a suspicious number. Huh. I think I'm gonna not accept that phone call.
Sounds like Morse code or something.
I know.
Is somebody like calling out for help?
Well, I don't know how to answer this. Yeah, I don't know how to answer this question because I don't see the rest of it. Oh my god. Okay.
Popcorn at 2:18 in the afternoon. I like it. Ballsy.
I mean, we can't hate, right? That's a good time to have popcorn.
What's up, Dave?
All right. Well, we need the second part of this one because given what's written, 101 easily. So yeah, I think we're missing a part there. Let's talk about this one. Oh boy. I am honestly floored that we have reached 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday and a decision no resolution has happened. I am honestly stunned.
We're in the dark.
I'm not.
Pun intended.
No, it's
why not?
It's Aaron Rodgers. What do you expect? Like he's gonna do that. He wants all the glamour. He wants all the attention on him. So when other news is going on, like he doesn't want to be the center of it. But when everyone is doing something different and he wants to inconvenience everybody, reporters, he's gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna break the news at midnight. So everyone has to wake up and do all this work. And I can just big middle finger to all these reporters in New York and Green Bay and etc. Like Aaron Rodgers is all about him. So he's just going to do whatever he feels most convenient because right now the Jets literally have shown their entire hand and they're out of quarterback.
The hand is up at this
Garoppolo's
stage.
Gone. Carr's gone. It's Rodgers or literally Mike White is gone now too. So like they literally have no option.
That's a good point. That happened about an hour ago. Miami is giving Mike White a 2-year deal worth up to $16 million. That's
smart.
Interesting.
I think it's smart just to have some insurance for Tua.
The concussion issues, that makes sense. 100% get a capable backup on the team.
I think Mike White at this point is an upgrade over Teddy Bridgewater.
Or Skylar Thompson, yeah.
Wow, that's
so.
not.
Definitely over Skylar Thompson.
So is it possible Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay? I really don't think so.
No, I don't think they want him back. So
no.
It's a matter of like we trade whatever, and I mean the Jets and Packers have already basically figured out the trade, and like what's happening in the trade. It's just a matter of okay, Rodgers is gonna like accept the trade or like. I think that's just what we're waiting on, and like I said, like Rodgers he wants to be the center of attention. So whenever he feels like, hey, you know what, I want to be all about the news today. Like maybe not the first day of free agency, I'll do the second day. He can just do whatever he wants because the Jets have basically just given him everything. So they have no power anymore. It's all in Rodgers' hands.
Pretty much. They shouldn't have signed him. You know what? They were scared. Last year, they were scared to go to Jordan Love when they should have. They signed him to that ridiculous extension. And now they're going to be paying the price for the next 2 years.
Well, I mean, in their defense, he did win another MVP. I mean, look, Jordan Love, the only reason he's been on the bench is because Rodgers has literally won the MVP the first 2 years he was on the team. And then the 1 year he doesn't win MVP, they're like, okay, let's give Jordan Love a shot. So I don't necessarily blame them. I mean, was he going to keep winning MVPs? Probably not. But at the same time, the dude won back-to-back MVPs, and you drafted a guy in the first round, but you weren't going to put him in if your quarterback is playing at MVP level. And then they took away Devontae, and what do you know? He wasn't as good. Weird.
Yeah. But I told people that was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it seems.
I've
pretty-
been,
yeah.
in case you're unaware, I'm been one of the most anti Aaron Rodgers people in existence for a long time.
No, I mean, he sucks.
I mean,
like,
well, yeah, I don't, we don't need to talk about why I really don't like Aaron Rodgers, but there are many things, but I have not liked him for a long time. I feel bad for Jordan Love too. I mean, he didn't get a choice, to be drafted into this situation. He didn't choose this situation. And Kenny Pickett was drafted with similar draft capital and just went right in week 4. So it's not like
one of them was behind Mitchell Trubisky.
Sure, but I'm saying Jordan Love did not choose to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't choose to be behind Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He didn't get a choice in that.
I don't think anybody.
I don't feel bad for Jordan Love at
To be
all.
behind Aaron
Why not?
Rodgers.
Because
Why
I'm not
not,
sure
eh?
he even deserved to be a first-round pick. I'm not sure he deserved to be drafted into a starting position.
I thought the draft capital
So
he got
do I
was
feel
about
bad
right.
for him? No,
for
I
me-
don't feel bad for Jordan Love.
Draft capital that he got seemed about fair to me.
Yeah,
Based
but
on, like, the upside.
a late
24
first-round pick
or,
for
like,
a rookie
27?
quarterback
25,
is
I think.
not a starting position. There's a massive difference between an early first-round investment and what was he, the 30th pick or
I
something?
mean, where
like
was
that?
Aaron Rodgers picked? 22 overall?
Yeah, and he wasn't drafted into being
I know.
a starter either.
I know. It's just weird. I think teams, I think the Packers, teams just don't do this anymore. You don't pick someone and sit them for years. And any first round pick. It's just very uncommon.
Not for 3 years, 3 or more. That's
Not for even 2
very,
years.
very uncommon.
Not for even 2 years. You do it for 1
But
year.
you'd think there was a market last year for them to trade Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I
They
suggested they should when the market was very
but they
strong.
didn't. They didn't.
They should
so
have. It was a
there's
mistake.
obviously a reason they're not going out of their way to trade away Aaron Rodgers and just give the keys to Jordan Love. And I don't believe it's because Jordan Love is just some great quarterback who's trapped and just poor Jordan Love behind.
No,
Aaron
Jordan Love
Rodgers.
is not great.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
He's
But
going to get his shot, but if I'm the Packers, I'm trying to retain Aaron Rodgers. I'm not trying to trade him away.
Would you rather have Jordan Love or Hendon Hooker, who's older than Jordan Love?
Jordan Love.
Neither.
Jordan Love.
I'd rather have neither.
I'll take Jordan Love because he's younger and has had 3 years of at least being in the NFL.
And didn't tear his ACL.
Yeah, that's not helping him. Hendon Hooker, though, apparently is moving up draft boards. But what do I know?
If
Would you
Hooker's
rather
a
have Jordan Love
late
or Jimmy
first, it's a
Garoppolo?
conversation.
Oh,
But until then,
that's actually a good question. I think if I were starting an NFL team and just playing for 2023 without having to worry about a contract, I'd rather have Jimmy Garoppolo. But if I have to pay Jimmy Garoppolo $25 million versus what Jordan Love is being paid next year, I'd rather have Jordan Love at the cost.
What's Jimmy Garoppolo being paid right now? Do we know?
We
much.
do. I don't think we have formal numbers, but there were numbers that were it's all unofficial, obviously, because we're during the tampering period. But I believe I saw numbers. Let's see.
wait, what happened? I missed the news. What happened with
The
Jimmy?
Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, the deal is done. I'm just looking. Oh, here it is. From Adam Schefter. 3 years, $67.5 million with $34 million guaranteed. So that's an average of
It's 20 million.
22 and a half a year and 34 guaranteed. So it's probably really a 1-year deal, essentially. And then with an option to get out of probably most of it in year 2.
Well, they don't have any other quarterbacks on their team because what's his face? Jared Stidham signed with the Broncos.
Time with Broncos, yeah.
So they're still definitely in the Richardson, Levis camp or whatever still.
That deal allows them to move on very easily.
Like
after 1 year.
100%. It's hey, you're here till we can get somebody else better.
No, I think that their plan is to draft Richardson or Levis if they can, but if they can't, then they at least have something to go for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had no other quarterbers on their
They had
roster.
nothing. Yeah, it's fine. There's a chance they don't get them though. There's other teams who are in competition for quarterbacks. I mean, Indianapolis. There's already teams at 1 and 2,
There's
and
3
now
teams in front of them: Houston, Indianapolis, and Carolina.
and that doesn't even include Seattle and Detroit,
Right.
who I would not rule out of a quarterback or trading down to another team who wants a quarterback more than the Raiders.
Agreed.
As to answer this question, I think Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay, I think the door on that is shut. I think that is over. I don't think that's possible. I think it's either he goes, at this point, the market is over. It's the Jets. I think he either is traded to the Jets or he doesn't play at all. Because I don't think the Packers want him back. I really don't. Like, I think the Packers are done. I think the Packers are starting Jordan Love no matter what Aaron Rodgers does or says. Kyle Pitts question. Would you rather have Kyle Pitts in the what? Oh, wow. I had a brain fart here. I was reading this as Kyle Pitts and the 104 or the 209 and Evan Ingram. I was like, that's a little problem. But no, Kyle Pitts or the 104, 209 and Evan Ingram. One quarterback, non-tight end premium. Let's go around and get
even in super flex. I'm taking Pitts.
Yeah, I'm taking Pitts. I think Pitts just is the most valuable piece out of all these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. So at the 104 and a 1 QB, what are you going to even get?
Like Johnson.
Yeah.
Or Jordan Addison, probably. I mean, those are the two.
Yeah, I'm taking Pitts.
Yeah, I think these other pieces are not enough to make up the difference. So I'm going to go for Pitts.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Ingram to have another great season when Calvin Ridley is putting up 1,400 yards again. It's gonna be tough.
I will say I loved Calvin Ridley's essay. He really took responsibility for his actions. I like that. We
talked about him the last time I was on here. Are you considering drafting? Because you were just out last time we talked, Jed. I'm just happy to be out.
I'm not, because now the value is going to go up even more. And in Dynasty, I'm just not interested. In redraft, I consider it the right price. In Dynasty, it's just, I wish Calvin Ridley were 3 years younger, but he's not.
I wouldn't rule out Evan Ingram having another good year just because Calvin.
Well, I don't rule it out. I mean, he had a good year.
The Jaguars stayed healthy. They had 2 players with 80+ receptions and a player with 70+ receptions on the same team this past year. And Lawrence is going to take another step. So I can still see Ingram going for 70+, 750+.
I feel that there's a lot of good weapons. None of them are elite, which what it makes me want is it makes me want Trevor Lawrence so bad. But probably saying that each individual weapon might be a little overpriced. I have to see what the prices are.
They're not cheap.
So then I'm going to be out.
No, I mean, the Jaguars are like the hype team where everyone wants.
Yeah, then I'll be out. I can tell you.
Both Kirk and Ridley are going outside of the top 24 wide receivers in Dynasty right now.
With rookies included or rookies excluded?
Without rookies included.
Well, I don't have either of them in the top 24.
They're both outside of the top 24.
I don't have either of them in there.
I know, but I'm saying they're not expensive.
I think the problem for me is that I think people think, just off the top of your head, I think people think Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram are younger than they are. I think if you
don't think anybody's confused with the fact that Calvin Ridley's older.
I think you'd be surprised. We know that. But I think if you just
I find the opposite. People are just already saying he's 30. And he's not. I find people just saying, "Oh, Cal, he's going to be 30." He's not. He's not going to be 30 until December of the end of next season. So I find the exact opposite to be true.
I mean, he's also a receiver that's not like. I mean, do you think he's not going to age well? I mean, it's not like he's like this big-bodied, like I run over people. I mean, he's a route runner. Like those guys usually tend to age well as they get older. They still catch a ton of passes. Like it's not like he's like Calvin Ridley's like elite speed. You know,
it has nothing to do with that, really. It's more just he's 28 coming off a long layoff. If he doesn't deliver, he'll be worth nothing. Nothing at all. He'll be 29 worth
deliver
nothing.
What?
I mean, if he has to come out and produce for fantasy at a level that's usable. So, top 25 probably. If he doesn't do that, then he's not going to be worth anything. In Dynasty, 29, didn't even produce a wide receiver 2 season. He has to be that good. In order
I would say
to
there's strong odds of that. He's being drafted as like a top 16.
I mean, I'm not going to rank him in the top 25.
He's being drafted in the top 16. So top 25 is below the median.
Kirk in the top 25?
I'd probably put Kirk right at the back edge of it. Yeah.
I mean, like I just like that. I mean, Kirk is just. I mean, it's for me. It's like so price sensitive. Where it's like if Calvin Ridley's going to be drafted ahead of Kirk, then it's like I'll just take Kirk. Like I've already seen Kirk be good. I've already seen Kirk be good with Trevor Lawrence. Like I don't need to like re-see it again. And he's in the slot. Yeah. So
I feel that way too. I think I would go with what I know worked over what hasn't been good in 3 years.
I would be cautious of that kind of perspective just because Calvin Ridley has a significantly higher ceiling, like significantly higher. He's been over 1,300 yards. He's had multiple seasons like above 150 targets. He's had a season with over like 160 targets. So people who were just taking the sure thing, we're drafting Tyler Boyd. There was I'd rather have Tyler Boyd than T. Higgins at cost. And how did that work out?
Well, I never said that.
So I do like Christian Kirk at cost, but I'm not just saying, I don't want Calvin Ridley because he's a little bit more expensive.
I think for me, the track record of these players who are multiple years of not delivering for whatever reason, missing time, long periods of time, the track record of those players is bad.
Well, I will say,
so I just tend to avoid them.
So you mentioned how like if Ridley doesn't hit this year, he's gonna like lose a lot of value. But it's
he'll be 29 and not have delivered in 4 years.
But how long did Josh Gordon have value after one season of being good? Like I'm just telling you, like people will still fixate on Ridley being a top end receiver, even if he doesn't finish that great this year. If he has a couple good games where he goes over 100 yards or whatever, like people are gonna be like, oh, well, still really like he's only 29. He's not even 30 yet. Like that will be the rhetoric, not that he's going to turn 30. It's like he's not even 30 yet.
I think you're right, Tyler.
I think if he were going at a better price, I would agree. But he's going so high that I'm not interested.
The point you're making
the risk is
about
all on the
history of players coming off the long period, you're almost exclusively talking about injuries, Tyler. You're not talking about these players.
No. Deshaun Watson is another one. That's
Deshaun Watson was a quarterback who was thrown in week 11, not practicing with the team the entire year. It's apples to oranges.
I mean, Michael Thomas is injuries, but there are.
And he
other
still came back this year and did well. It's just not really. There's no past previous exam, not many at all of this happening. So.
Even though they're completely different reasons, Deshaun Watson is the closest. Someone who misses a long period of time.
It's a quarterback
for something that
wasn't allowed to practice with the team in season.
I will
say, was thrown in week 11.
I will say
Calvin Ridley is going to get to practice the whole off season. He's going to get to practice the whole regular season. He's not getting thrown in week 11, not having practice with the team. Playing wire, it's totally different. It's totally different.
If Calvin Ridley were actually good in 2021, I think I'd feel differently, but he was not.
Wasn't he playing with a broken foot? Did you read the thing?
I mean, he can say that, but he wasn't good.
He went to the doctor and they said his foot was broken. Did you read the whole thing?
He should have sat out. I'd feel better about it.
Yeah, they made him play because they got rid of Julio. And then no one else. He's like, you have to play because we don't have Julio.
Compared to Calvin Ridley's standards of the previous year, he was
it's been a while.
Compared to league average receiver, he was still well above average.
I don't know about that. But, I mean, he was pretty bad on the volume he received. I mean, very bad. I mean,
volume is a quantifiable metric for doing good.
I understand that. But I was very alarmed by how bad he was. So we'll see. I mean, everyone makes excuses for why, injuries. You can always say that. I'm sure if we asked any player, most of them would say something along those lines. We're just hearing about it because it's publicized. And I get it. I appreciate the journey back. And, I'm actually really proud of him as a person and all of that. But that doesn't mean that I want to draft him in Dynasty at his cost. Maybe I tend to sometimes I do let my emotions get in, but it's usually on the bad side. It's usually I just don't want Deshaun Watson, so I won't draft him. But I'm better at separating the positive emotions from wanting a player like that. I just know from the risk profile I'm looking at, the age, the history of players who miss this sort of time and then come back is all very not great. So even though I love his story and I really want to see him do well, I'm just not going to take him at his cost. That's all. It's not I don't like him or anything. I want to see him do well more than anything. I mean, I've talked about mental health on this show a lot. I've talked about owning your mistakes on this show a lot. I've done both of those things, especially owning mistakes. I've made a lot of them many times. So I get it. And I do appreciate that, but I just can't draft him at his cost. It just comes down to that.
Which is what exactly? What's his dynasty?
I've seen him going in the dynasty wide receiver 25 to 30 range.
I'm going to pull up the actual ADP.
I have him in my rankings. I have him at 2023. So he's
23,
right, kind of in that range where he's being drafted.
No, I definitely would be out at that price. Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. He's being drafted wide receiver 31, and this is actual ADP from Sleeper Dynasty startups compiled by Dyko. It's on bulletproof FF.com.
I still wouldn't
take him 801. He's at the 801 wide receiver 31 right now.
I still wouldn't take him at that cost.
Is he ahead of Kirk in there, or is he behind
Kirk right now is at, let's see.
Probably think he's behind Kirk then.
Kirk would probably be ahead. at
I gotta
31.
figure out where the scroll is sideways on the screen.
We'll figure that out. But
I'm
Sorry to-
scrolling up
sorry
and
to
down.
put
I'm
you
like,
on
how
the
do I
spot.
go sideways?
there's also that's another thing is there's so many different ADP sources, and all of them, pretty much have like a significant amount of lag. So like you're
Well,
always
this
getting,
is actual from actual sleeper drafts. Like
Sure.
a lot of the
but that's-
ADP sources, like
I love Sleeper, but that is one of the most laggy.
Wait,
of
what,
all.
you guys don't use fantasy football calculator? What do you mean?
Kirk is at wide receiver
God.
30. That's why I couldn't find him, because he was literally
30?
one spot ahead.
30,
30, and Ridley's at 31 at the
Oh,
so I'd
7,
much
12,
prefer
801.
Kirk
So
at
they're
that price.
back to back.
If I'm choosing,
Yeah, so a lot of times it's really like, pick your flavor. If people are drafting, they could go either way.
I think
I'm
Kirk
going
was
with the
really
upside.
good last year.
I'm taking the upside.
Maybe
again.
I mean,
was good.
if he was really good last year and Trevor Lawrence continued, because the first few 5-6 games, Trevor Lawrence was, still kind of figuring it out. So if Trevor Lawrence has a complete season of being elite, then I feel like Kirk was really good last year. In the second year in an offense, I think he could even take more of a step forward. So
But Lawrence is also going to be the best quarterback Calvin Ridley's ever played with. We talk about Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. Every single one of them set a career high in receptions and receiving yards this year. All three of them. And we talk about elevating talent. Now you put a previous 1,300-yard receiver. I'm taking the upside. I don't care. I'm taking the upside over
So one thing I want to point out too with the Jaguars, I think is interesting. So they were the healthiest team on offense last year.
I wrote
They
about
the
that.
least amount of missed games
It's
between
an article
their
I wrote about that.
So like that's something that's going to be, because one of them is going to get hurt. Like Evan Ingram had come in with a bunch of like, I don't want to say like, oh, like he's going to get hurt because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah,
but
don't
like,
say it, because then it'll be clipped later.
But like
people
historically speaking, when you look at teams that stay healthy for 1 year as the healthiest team, that's just very hard to repeat year over year. And that's why I honestly love scooping up like Zay Jones as like the forgotten guy, because if any of these 1, 2, 3 guys go down, Zay Jones is right back into a starting role, seeing his role from last year, which he is not anywhere near priced where he's going. And he's still like at a decent age. So
Zay Jones is a great. I usually say, oh, you can say any wide receiver is a great best ball target, but I actually think Zay Jones is a good best ball target, because all it takes is those few injured games, like you were saying, or that he has 3 or 4 games for whatever reason, one of the receivers is out or whatever, as the wide receiver 2 role, and then he delivers. And for best ball, he delivers at a price.
It's funny because he was one of the guys you needed in best ball this year.
Oh, absolutely. This year
huge
he
week
was
in
like a
the
skeleton
playoff
key.
rounds, and he, like you said, he was a difference maker.
Yeah,
And I
he
think, too,
was
like,
absolutely a different.
the fact that all those Jaguars receivers stayed healthy last year, that also played into why ETN didn't get a role in the receiving games. Like, why would you throw the ball to ETN when you could throw it to your healthy receivers and tight ends? Like,
that's true.
And that's why do you think Austin Eckler had so many catches last year? Because all of his receivers were hurt. Like, there's a correlation.
And also
between...
Justin Herbert's ribs and shoulder prevented him from throwing the ball more than
the
20
Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, he catches so many passes because all the receivers suck or are hurt.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Oh,
that
side note, by the way, if anyone believes, and I have heard this for crazy thing I've heard, that Justin Herbert is suddenly not as good. If people believe that, I would take a look at him in Dynasty, because I don't think he forgot after an incredibly elite opening to his career in year 3. He just forgot how to throw the ball downfield.
That's what scares me about Lawrence just a little bit, is that he's being priced into the fact that he's taking the jump. It reminds me a lot of last year where we were drafting Justin Herbert, and then he just didn't deliver because guys got hurt.
Trade T-Law for Lamar Jackson plus.
Like, so.
How much plus?
Future 1-2 swap. I don't care if it's in 2025.
That would be nice. I would take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Lawrence. Lamar is a buy to me in Dynasty. Speaking of buys.
Oh, yeah.
People are a little over afraid, I think. I still have him as a first-round Superflex pick.
A high, top 5.
I don't have him that high.
Do you have him above Fields?
I don't.
He should be above Fields.
Not for me. Not after the trade. No.
What justification?
Well, I just feel like Fields. I mean, he delivered more for fantasy last year. I think he.
Lamar Jackson has a 28-point per game season. He was the MVP.
That was
for 36 touchdowns. Give me a break. Justin Fields is great. He's one of the worst passers in the league through 2 years in his career. And don't talk to me about receiving help, because Lamar Jackson was thrown to Willie frickin' Snead. All right, it is not a conversation.
Lamar Jackson has had
end of story. Period. Close the book.
Better players than Justin Fields has ever had. I honestly think, and now DJ Moore is coming in. I really do believe that Justin Fields is going to make, could be a difference making. He was kind of a difference maker at times last year. I think this year could be one of those players where depending on his draft capital and what he costs, could be one of those difference makers in fantasy. So I'm all in on him. Lamar Jackson, I'm just concerned. I have some slight concerns about the contract. He still is a buy to me, but Justin Fields is a player for a completely separate conversation that I'm like all in on, essentially.
Yeah, I have no problem being all in on Justin Fields.
Yeah. I would just lean toward him just because the elite to be fair, the elite fantasy production is more recent from Justin Fields. So I'm going to lean that way.
What did he average in points per game this year? Lamar Jackson has averaged 20-plus points per game every season of his career. Every season of his career since his rookie year. What was Justin Fields at this year?
Lamar, after week 3 this year, was totally unusable.
Every year of his career, he's been above 20 points per game. Justin Fields, where is he?
I'm just
20.47. His elite production has not been more recent. Even this year, Lamar was at 20.26. Exact same.
Right,
the elite production has not been more recent for Justin Fields.
There was a change in the Bears' offense in the middle of the season.
And there was a change for the Ravens, even worse. He lost Rashad Bateman, lost Mark Andrews, and he still produced the same points per game as Justin Fields.
Lamar averaged like 10 fantasy points per game more with Bateman on the field. So he can't be that.
Well, that definitely helped, but
he was the QB1 in points per game. He was having 26 points per game before Rashad Bateman got hurt. How is the more elite production from Justin Fields? It's just not. That's verifiably false.
I'm good. I'm going to stick with Justin Fields. I really genuinely think that Justin Fields had the worst weapons over 2 years of like anyone I've ever seen. And now he is DJ Moore. I think that's going to make a big difference. I don't think that Justin Fields is a bad passer, as bad as we've seen. I don't think he can be that bad because he was good in college. He was a good passer. He wasn't bad. So I don't think he's as bad as he's shown in the NFL. And I think
Lamar Jackson was a good passer in college, and he was better in college, and he was better in 2 years.
And he's been fine in the NFL. Not the greatest passer ever, but he's been fine. I think
significantly better than Justin Fields.
Justin Fields was a better passer in college. He played at a better school. He played well as a passer. Lamar is in college.
That's debatable. But NFL, it's not debatable.
I think Fields was a better
Lamar Jackson by a wide margin.
Well, we'll have to see. I'm going to go with Fields. I don't like also what the Ravens are doing with their organization. They kind of seem like a shit show.
It's the kind of thing I don't think there's really a terribly wrong answer at.
No, I think most people have them back to back.
Unless one of them gets hurt. You pick the one gets hurt. That's the wrong answer.
I think most people have Lawrence, then those two in order. But I do think I've seen Lamar drop outside of the first round in some super flex drafts, and I would be all over that.
I know there's definitely a switch, like you were saying, where Fields obviously started the year poorly, but after starting week 5, he was the 3rd highest scoring quarterback on a points per game basis. So he was definitely, and he said it himself, like he felt like there was a switch, a couple games into the season, and we saw it in terms of a fantasy standpoint where, he didn't get that much better at throwing the ball, that's for sure, but it didn't matter. He was ripping off these 60-yard runs and just seemingly every game had some crazy plays he was making. And so that's the thing for me. I just feel like he literally doesn't have to get any better at throwing the ball, and he's still right there. And if he gets, he makes these improvements as he continues to grow into, his team, his weapons, I just think, I think the upside is definitely.
He definitely has to get better as like a passer, or else he's gonna lose his job. Because the Bears have plenty of picks because they can decide. Well, he ran a lot, he was good, but we still didn't see what we wanted, so we're gonna draft Caleb Williams. We're gonna draft the kid from UNC. There are other options where he has to deliver, whereas you have way more of a floor with Trevor Lawrence. He's not going anywhere. He's probably gonna.
Yeah, that's why I have Trevor Lawrence higher.
Whatever. Yeah. And if you value longevity versus elite production, then I understand why you'd have them ranked in a certain way. But depending on the way if you want to win, this year, I'd rather have Fields.
I think you also try to exploit that too, though. If someone wants to overvalue longevity and they want to give you just like I said, Justin Fields, you give me Justin Fields in a 2024 1 for Lawrence in 2024 2.
Oh,
I'm taking Fields in the 1 there, easily.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's also another thing that you can do is these tier backs or these move backs in the same tier are very helpful. I will say, what do we think about DJ Moore's potential in Chicago? Because I think it's
wide receiver 2, he's been for his entire career.
But if the Bears take, and there's been some rumors about this, if they take Jackson Smith and Jigba at 9, then it's not good. Then it's not good, because these types of offenses, based around a running quarterback, usually that can happen, but it's difficult to support many weapons. I mean, I know the Eagles did it, but usually they support one, weapon like fully, and then maybe a second one partially. I mean, we even remember that Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown struggled to really deliver consistently at the same time in the Ravens offense. So if the Bears draft Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'll be very excited for Justin Fields, but I'll be tempering expectations for DJ Moore and a little bit JSN, although he'd probably be a buy for me in rookie drafts if the price fell.
Do you think that they would draft a receiver that high?
I think
after
it's
trading for DJ Moore.
I think it's a possibility, but wouldn't be.
Well, so the only thing that I would push back on that. So if you look at polls, right? So where is he coming from? Kansas City. When was the last time Kansas City drafted a receiver in the first round?
Ooh, I don't think it's in my lifetime.
I think it's like Dwayne Bowe.
So that is my lifetime, but not my fantasy lifetime.
So I'm just saying, if you look at the way the Chiefs have operated from their receiver standpoint, it's more like, let's get the values. It's not like, hey, what did they just do? They just traded away Tyreek Hill. Who is their prototypical number one who they got in the 6th round or whatever.
Yeah,
so I don't think that they'll draft a receiver in the first round.
Yeah, the thing with I've been kind of going off on this a little bit for Twitter the past 2 days, so I'll kind of take this one. There's just been a lot of people getting carried away with just, all right, this is the next Diggs, Josh Allen. It's the next AJB, Jalen Hurts. And that just is very, very, very unlikely. For one, Josh Allen turning into Josh Allen is a rarity just based on the way he started his career. For two, we talk about just projections. Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray have never thrown for 4,000 yards once in a single NFL season. And both of them have been significantly better passes than Justin Fields through 2 years in their career. So we talk about, all right, where's Chicago going to land in passing projections? First of all, this past year, they had 2,500 passing yards. That is
bad.
That is all time since 2004, the lowest passing attempts.
It's not going to be that low again.
But still, the baseline from which they're going is quite literally least productive passing offense in the past 2 decades. So are they going to get better? Yes. It's probably going to go up, I would say, above 3,200 yards. Maybe even into the 3,800 yard range if he does well, turns into that Lamar Kyler.
I think somewhere in between there is probably.
But still, if we give DJ Moore the same target and reception yard share that he had last year, which is 27.5%, even though he was more in the 22 to 25 when McCaffrey played. And now he's got Mooney and Claypool and Kmet as opposed to Terrace Marshall and Tommy Tremble. But let's not even bump him down to the 25% range where he's 22 to 25, where he's likely to be. Let's just give him the 27.5%. 27.5% of 3,800, which is best case for Fields, is barely 1,000 yards. It's 1,045 yards. This is essentially what Brandon Ayuk was last year in a passing offense that probably projects for a few less passing touchdowns. Talk about Michael Pittman. Literally last year, he had 25% targets and 25% of the receiving yards in the 3,800 passing offense. He finished as wide receiver 23 in points per game, about 14 points per game. That is about what DJ Moore is going to profile as this year, around the Ayuk, Pittman, something like that. If you're expecting any chance of Diggs, AJB, is very, very unlikely that that's going to happen. You should be selling him if you find someone else who thinks that's going to happen.
DJ Moore is a sell
too.
DJ Moore is a sell to me.
And I think, too, with just the comparisons to AJ Brown and Diggs, those guys both had, I think, wide receiver 1 seasons already. And DJ Moore's never done that. I get his quarterbacks haven't been great, but it still matters. It's not like everything was perfect for AJ Brown and for Diggs in their situation with the Vikings and the Titans. It wasn't perfect, but they were wide receiver 1s. And DJ Moore is good, but he was never on those guys' level. So
yep. And you want to talk about the PFF grades? Diggs, 78, 78, 83, 81, 78, 90, 82, 90. So he's got 2 above 90. He's got 5 out of 8 seasons above 80. AJB, 83, 90, 86, 89. He's never been below an 83 PFF receiving grade. DJ Moore, 73.7, 80.2, 79.1, 76.3, 76.2. He's been over 80 once in 5 years.
The two 90s did occur in Buffalo, though.
Still, okay. But then let's talk about reception perception. Talk about reception perception. This is another just quantifiable, separating the wide receiver from the quarterback. Diggs, 97th versus man, 94th versus phone, 97th versus press.
Stephon Diggs is elite.
90 and above. AJB, 96th versus man, 43rd versus zone, 98th versus press. DJ Moore, 63rd versus man, 36th percentile versus zone, 49th versus press. He's just not on that level as a route runner.
Does anyone think that though?
There have been a lot of. Have you been on Twitter the past 3 days?
Yeah,
to be honest with you, I don't pay attention to Twitter.
But that's how you get a perception of the market and how they're viewing certain plays. So I think it's actually like useful in that way.
But I've learned from Twitter that sometimes when I pay too much attention to Twitter, my mental health goes in the toilet.
No, I saw someone got Chris Olave for DJ Moore in a late second.
What was the trade?
Wait, what?
It was DJ Moore in a late second for Chris Olave.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I would go for Chris Olave. I like that one. Sounds good. Let's do that. Why don't we try that?
You could maybe get into a Drake London if someone's freaking out about that, like for a late 2. Like, I just don't see it.
Chris Olave, I think, is like on the elite track kind of thing.
Talk about like maybe an Amon-Ra St. Brown if someone's a little panicky about Jameson Williams. Like if you could,
wouldn't that be nice?
A middle 2 to DJ Moore.
I would definitely be in the camp of selling DJ Moore if
these
are like.
I would try to go up. Try to find
the return
because he's going to be like because he's one of these guys where it's like if you have him on your team, like he's like still his age is still like okay, like he's been productive, but
26 in May,
when he's really not like a true difference maker. Like he's
not.
You can start him every week, whatever. Like, and he'll have his ups and downs as he's done throughout his entire career. Like even last year, I was like, guys, you know how bad it is. Like DJ Moore is still going to finish as a wide receiver too. Like that's just literally what he does every single year. And what do you know? At the end of the year, he was a wide receiver too. Like it's just what ends up happening.
Treylon Burks plus for DJ Moore?
Maybe if it's just a 2-3 swap, a future 2-3 swap.
Might be able to do that. I actually have Treylon Burks valued ahead of DJ Moore because I feel like DJ Moore, kind of like what Andrew was just saying, like we've seen what DJ Moore is. Like he's, as you were saying, I kind of agree. Like he's one of the players who's had more dynasty value than what he's actually delivered. He has not delivered on the dynasty value he's had. He still is not delivering. I don't think we're going to rank him in redraft as high as we're going to rank him if people are ranking him in dynasty. He's still not going to deliver. Whereas Treylon Burks, I feel, had an underrated rookie season, was better than a lot of people think, despite a putrid situation. And, has a lot more room to grow value-wise than DJ Moore. And I think you can get something added to Burks.
And you talk about
hype right now.
You talk about market sentiments. If DJ Moore puts up another low-end wide receiver 2 season this year, people are going to be fed the hell up. If Treylon Burks puts up a mid to low-end wide receiver 2 season this year,
people are going to be excited.
People are going to be very freaking excited. And we talk about Treylon, like you said, his rookie season, it was underrated. This guy topped 75% snaps in one game, and it wasn't even in a game where Ryan Tannehill was at QB.
All right, Tyler, loaded question, though. So Calvin Ridley or DJ Moore?
I'm still talking about Treylon Burks here. Let me finish this. These are important marks. Yards per route run out of all wide receiver ranks as a rookie.
You come more prepared for this.
29th out of all wide receivers. Yard per route run versus man. 24th. Yards after catch per reception. 12th among all wide receivers. Contested catch rate. 15th. This is as a rookie playing with 3 different QBs, including Malik Willis and Josh Dobbs, and dealing with injuries and dealing with all the coaching stuff.
Wow.
This guy has the potential to soar in market value this year. He even puts up a mid wide receiver 2 season.
Can I ask you something?
Absolutely.
How often do you record video content?
Not enough, apparently.
Not enough.
Yeah, not enough.
I'm more of a writer than video, but
oh my god,
I'm trying to do more podcasts.
So you just gotta like unleash it all the takes.
I know. That's why I'm always seem so quiet, because it feels like, I'm sure
you're not quiet. Shut up.
Compared to you, but no, I'm a lot quieter than I used to be, because I feel like after like the 500th show, it kind of is like, you lose things to say. Rogers, is this true? Anyone see that?
Nope. What do we got?
Oh, and here, super chat. Devin Duvernay greater than anyone to Fields through to last year. I don't agree with that. I think Darnell Mooney is significantly better than Devin Duvernay.
Trey Wingo apparently said Rodgers to the Jets is done.
Yeah, sorry, FF Lefty. We don't agree with your assessment.
But
yeah, Garrett Wilson to the moon, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
I just got roasted for a Garrett Wilson trade. I traded 101 Bijan for Garrett Wilson in 204. I wonder how people feel about it now.
I mean, if you're getting Garrett Wilson, I'm probably pretty in on it.
I feel like 204. I'm still getting a good running back. Well, they're good profiles, and one of them is going to land in a good situation. Whether it's Kendrick Miller, Zach Evans, we have Devin Achane, we have some of the wide receivers who could slip. Josh Downs, we have the tight ends. Like, I feel like I can at least, if I don't want to pick a player, I can trade it for a pretty good running back. 204, a decent running back, and then I have Garrett Wilson. This was a team where I had plenty of future picks. I have 2 2024 ones, 2 2025 ones. So I'm not worried about adding running backs in the future. I had Olave, Burks, Debo, and then Pickens as my wideout. So I wanted to just really strengthen that wide receiver core, Garrett Wilson. I feel like I'm going to get a good running back at 204. And now Aaron Rodgers there. I'm a little bit happier about that trade.
We have to see what players are going back in the Aaron Rodgers trade.
If they trade Garrett Wilson away,
Garrett Wilson's not going to be a part of it. But I am curious.
What if they're trading Elijah Moore?
That I'm curious about. If Elijah Moore,
that would be even better for Garrett Wilson. So
that I could see. So Erickson, tell us, like, before you have to go, tell us a little bit more about like what you have going on at Fantasy Pros. I'm sure a lot of people on here listen to your show as I have actually every show pretty much that you do. But tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing that I get to do this as like my full-time job. I don't do anything else. Like, this is what pays my rent so I can live and eat. And it's a blessing that I have this opportunity. And, you know, what I would say to people that are looking to like break into the industry, because that's a lot of times what people will always ask me. It's just like, it's really about building relationships and networking, just like I talked about earlier in the show about how, you know, these players go to certain places because they're comfortable with the coaching staff or with other players that they know. You know, people want to hire people that they are comfortable with and they know, and then they know that do good work. And so that's something that I learned very early on in my professional career. And that I found that sending out like resume after resume, like, does not do anything. And you really have to go out there. You have to go to these conferences. You have to go and meet actual people in real life. And it was tough, obviously, with a pandemic happening, that like, you couldn't actually do that. So, but luckily I was able to do a lot of that stuff before that ended up happening. And that put me in connections with several people that worked in the industry. You know, meeting Jet Ratcliffe at a Buffalo Wild Wings, you know, really set me up to work at Pro Football Focus, which is my first full-time job, like, in the industry. And then I worked for 2 years with them. And then I moved over to Fantasy Pros at the beginning of last year. And it's been great ever since. So I'm just having a lot of fun doing this. And at the end of the day, like, you know, when I get stressed out about like, oh, like rankings or article content or what, et cetera, I'm like, this is fantasy. Like, this is my job. Like, I'm here to provide an outlet for people that, you know, don't like their jobs or whatever, and they're fine with just working their regular 9 to 5 or etc. But like, when they come home or listening on their commute and they're like, want to listen to fantasy, like, Big Pod Energy's coming on, and we're going to talk about takes and we're going to talk about fantasy, and it's just going to be a great time. So that's really all I'm trying to do, is just like be entertaining, have fun, because at the end of the day, fantasy football, we all want to win, but it's about having fun too. So I always try to kind of take a step back and think about that. And also this year too, I'm getting more into the betting side of things. I'm in Massachusetts. They finally legalized mobile sports betting. I've been having a hell of a weekend. So yeah.
Hell good or hell bad?
Coming down the line.
Hell good or hell bad on the bets?
No, it's good. Because FanDuel and DraftKings, for just some reason, like, I mean, I don't know how long these like boosters are going to last, but they're like, you know, bet $50 on the Celtics to score 1 point and you'll get $50 back. I'm like, sick, sounds good. Like, $50 on the Celtics, like, hooray. So those eventually, I assume, are going to go away. So we'll see after that. But as of right now, I'm just playing with house money, and it's been good so far.
I love the Big Pod energy. I feel like like whenever I'm listening to the Fantasy Pros podcast, like on my own, I'm always waiting for that to come out, because it's good for at least 3 times a show. I always laugh like, oh, Big Pod energy. But no, I really have been. I've been listening to Fantasy Pros podcast for like 6 years or more, 6-7 years. Yeah, very long.
I listened to the show even before I was even part of it at all. So yeah.
Yeah, so I've always been listening, and yeah, you've been crushing it on there. I've noticed like you've gotten like so many more like followers and like stuff on your work.
That's all because of the Twitter threads.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta learn how to do that. I gotta take a look at your Twitter and see what you're doing. See if I could get any inspiration from like the great work that you're doing. And I do think can you like say because your Twitter is like not Erickson.
Oh yeah. So I'm on Twitter at Andrew Erickson _. Same thing on Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms, and all my work can be found over on fantasypros.com. And then this year as well, bettingpros.com. I'm going to be doing some more betting content, which I'm super excited about. Betting Pros. Oh, it's on the sweatshirt somewhere. There we go. Bettingpros.com. So, yeah, very excited about this year and just excited to do more, just break down more of this free agency stuff. We got the Rodgers stuff. So I know I'm being called upon to be like, we need this article written up on the site right now. So
I grabbed your Twitter.
Yes.
It's right there.
Hell yeah.
So click on that link if you're in the chat and make sure to give Andrew a follow.
I have a spicy Jonnu Smith takes all over there right now because that's the only news that happened this morning.
Oh, wow. Yes, you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jonnu Smith content. Just like the thing that I remember most from this past season was that he had that one catch in that game, or was it 2 seasons? I don't even remember. It was in that Bills-Patriots game where it was like super windy. And he caught one pass for 12 yards, which ended up leading the team in receiving in that game. And it was like this like crazy catch because of the wind, like spiraled the ball in the air, and he had to make this one-handed catch. I'm like, this is the Jonnu Smith like highlight of his Patriots career. There we go.
Wow. One highlight.
So bad. But I got to bounce, guys. I appreciate you having me on. And
it was awesome. I really appreciate you coming
connect again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Peace.
Later.
All right. Well, we have.
Looks like you're stuck with just me now.
For like about 5 minutes, and then Hutch is coming on. He's gonna be done with school, and we have a long. I don't know if we have more than 10 minutes left to go. I think because we didn't get to really any of the questions. I'm really happy that Andrew was able to join us. I really respect him and his work at Fantasy Pros. It's like I do legitimately listen. I wish I had been remembering more of his takes. I always love challenging people on their takes and talking about that, but it's been a crazy. Oh, now we have to turn that off. Okay, there we go. When I have the background, we have to turn the shift off. All right, let's get to some of the questions. People came in the chat. They had questions and kind of jumped around. We didn't get to all of them, but let's make sure we get to them, and then we'll return to talking about some of the news. Because there's still quite a few things we have not talked about. 102 plus Gabe Davis plus Sky Moore or CeeDee Lamb in a super flex.
The question here is 102 or CeeDee Lamb. That's what the question is here. And I think the answer is CeeDee Lamb.
It's Lamb for me.
Yeah.
The other players, I do wonder. I mean, I like the idea of those quarterbacks at 102. Is Gabe Davis and Sky Moore enough to make up the difference?
I want a real plus.
Probably not.
I love Sky Moore, and I don't mind buying super cheap on Sky Moore, but I'm not going from CeeDee Lamb into the risk of a rookie quarterback in this class who, whether it's Anthony Richardson, whose floor is very low compared just for what his passing price, very high, but it is so much risk with just the passing profile questions to give up a CeeDee Lamb and not get a real plus. And then we have Young and Stroud, where just a really good NFL prospects, but they're just questions about their rushing and fantasy upside. So
I'm with
you.
A
real big, a better plus than Gabe Davis and Sky Moore to go from Lamb to 102.
I'm with you guys there.
It's fair though. If it were, to me, if it said like a player I like better, like George Pickens and 102, I think I would take that.
Yeah, that's definitely more intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that. Mike White is a Miami Dolphin. Interesting. I don't think this doesn't move Tua's value at all, right? I mean, this is just signing some sort of veteran.
This is concussion related.
I think they were going to sign a player like this. We knew that. They were going to sign a Mike White. It could have been a Baker Mayfield, although I think Baker Mayfield's getting more looks, but a Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston if he becomes a free agent, Taylor Heineke, a player of that ilk. So I don't think this should move Tua's value at all. I think this is exactly what we expected. And as for Mike White, it's a place where there are some concerns about the starter and has good weapons. So for Mike White, I think this maybe pushes his value up a tick in that if he goes in, I think you'll be able to use him.
Yeah.
You'll be able to use him.
You're still not paying anything for maybe a rookie 4, like a late.
No, when I say the value goes up, I had Mike White as valued between the 402 and the 403.
Maybe I think it's just someone you kind of look to more in the late rounds of Dynasty startup.
Exactly.
Say,
now maybe I have him valued between the 310 and the 311. Not much has changed.
Yeah.
A little bit of an uptick, more likely, like as you just said, to take him late in a super flex draft. He still doesn't carry real value, but it's definitely an uptick for him. Because again, if you play,
place where he could see the field.
If you're he could see the field, and if you're competent and play with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you'll be able to put up fantasy points. So,
no, it's a great gamble that he's not even a gamble, but it's a great spot that he's basically picked and gone to, because obviously we've
I'm glad he didn't wait on the Jets to deal with their crap.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he, like Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr and everyone else, didn't wait on the Jets crap.
So speaking of that, though, there's some conflicting things going on. I mean, obviously we said Rodgers to the Jets was apparently confirmed. Ian Rappaport just went on.
Right?
Now he's just said, I wish something had happened, but nothing has happened. But then Garrett Wilson also tweeted, I can finally enjoy my vacay now. So I don't know who's right, who's wrong. If it's
where there's
done, if
smoke,
it's not,
there's usually fire. I'm
just tired of this crap. When it's really finalized, it'll be finalized. Like, I'm tired of this crap from Aaron Rodgers. Like, I'm sorry, he's 39. Whatever. I mean, he's 39 years old. Like, this is whatever at this point. Like, is going to be a decision at some point. There has to be. Until then, there's not going to be a decision. I mean, it is what it is. When it's really formally finished, then we can talk about it. But until then, I honestly am just frustrated with Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not even a Packers fan. Oh, this was a whole other thing that dropped today that we didn't even get to.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even talk about this. This was something I meant to bring up with Erickson, because I know he's had a lot of discussion about Austin Eckler in the past. I totally forgot about this. But apparently Austin Eckler is requesting permission to speak with other teams about a trade. And I get it from his perspective. He signed a team-friendly deal going into the 2020 season. And now he's only getting like $6 million. Or $6.25 million or something. He's way outplayed that contract. This is the final year of it. So I understand why he's doing a power play now. What should I ask? Oh, but to answer this question, the 104 is worth it.
Yeah, I would take in the 104.
Just take it and run, right?
Even before this news today, not even talking about
this news is not good for his value. It's only bad.
But that you're getting one of the top 3 QBs at 104, who are all like second-round startup picks right now in super flex leagues. So just talk about the value they hold as far as trade asset. It's a lot higher than Austin Eckler's. And then you talk about the Chargers, even if they keep them. Let's say they get traded, that's a whole question mark. If they keep him, they could still draft another running back, especially talking about.
Well, if they're not going to extend him, then absolutely.
And even if they did, they need a compliment regardless. Somebody who
they could draft someone in the second.
They tried for Isaiah Spiller, it didn't work out. They could draft. There's a deep class. They could spend a 3rd or 4th and still get a good running back who, even though it's only a 4th-round pick, it's going to damage Austin Eckler's dynasty value.
Isaiah Spiller, I wouldn't wait for because I'm not sure this trade is going to happen. We've heard trades in the past. Deebo Samuel last year, Kadarius Toney last year during the off season. We were like, trade is imminent, and then trade did not happen. So I don't think there's any guarantee that a trade is going to happen. I would just sell Isaiah Spiller now. This might be the best.
If you can find somebody still,
if you can find a sucker,
any 3, any year,
any 3, any 3
him off my hands.
Sure.
He's not on any of my rosters to begin with, luckily.
Yeah. Oh, any 3. I'm with you on that. Any 3.
See ya.
He can go. But yeah, in a super flex format, I am confident that there's going to be 6 players, no matter what, that I prefer over Austin Eckler. With the 3 quarterbacks, obviously Bijan at 1, and then JSN and Gibbs, pretty much no matter what.
Quentin Johnson's kind of like, we'll see what the landing spot,
that's why I said 6,
he gets drafted.
6 where I'm 100% sure that they'll be valued above Austin Eckler based on age. Then there could be more.
And all it takes is one bad landing spot. You say like JSN going to the Bears, and all of a sudden maybe someone takes Will Levis ahead of him, and then
but I would
fall to.
I'd prefer JSN in any landing spot over Eckler.
I know, but your league mates might not. And now all of a sudden, JSN might be available at the 107
but
as opposed to 106.
I'm more saying that there could be other players like Addison
I know what you're saying.
Or Levis. Yeah. Really, those 3 with a good landing spot could all move above Eckler in value. Okay, here. We finally got back to this question typed out fully. 101 Cup and Judy for 106, 108, Damian Harris. Judy's on both sides.
Judy,
what?
Yeah, that's what I'm
going to assume it's just 101 in Cup.
Yeah, 101 in Cup for 106, 108 Harris and 2 firsts. Well, Cup and like
the first Judy is supposed to be a 24 second.
Okay.
All right. So it's 101 Cup, 24 second, and then 106, 108, Judy, Harris.
That's a lot. You better have a lot of value to be paying all that for.
Yeah,
a
I mean,
running back.
I'd rather
And a
have
30-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah, no.
I'd rather have a second over Harris, and I'd probably lean Cup over the 108. So then that would leave the 101 for the 106, Judy, and 224 first. It's not, and which I probably is a fair price.
Depends where these projects.
No.
Like, that's a lot.
You don't
to
think
pay for
you
a
think
running
that
back.
you think the 106?
I think that's too much.
I think it's too much. Yeah, but
106 and 224 firsts for the 101.
This is a lot. There's a lot to pay.
Nah,
There's a lot to pay.
Too much.
I will say that.
It's just try and get Jahmyr Gibbs for like way cheaper.
Yeah,
a million times cheaper.
I think I'm good just holding what I have with 106, 108, and 24 first and making other moves. I think this is a little much.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm going to pass on this idea. Rodgers is going to wait. We'll know what Rodgers is going to do. No, they can't because
until he goes on Pat McAfee. That is such an Aaron Rodgers thing to do.
Such an Aaron Rodgers. We'll see. We'll have to see. You know, I think we're gonna have to see. Did someone say Ridley? Yeah. Oh, see, he agrees with me. He's pumping the brakes because of his age. If I can get him for 2 or 3 or later.
Smash.
I have Calvin Ridley in Superflex rated very low. Yeah. I don't even like this rank. It doesn't feel right. I feel like I gotta either change my pick scale or change my player scale. Because like I have Calvin Ridley in Superflex between the 206 and 207. That feels wrong.
It is wrong.
It feels wrong. But
he's at least the 201 to me because we have like you said, the clear top 6 with Bijan, the 3 QBs, JSN and Gibbs. Quentin Johnson will be at 107.
I look around the 201 though. You know, I see like players.
Maybe you get Charbonnet. I don't think you're getting Charbonnet. Maybe you get Zay Flowers or Josh Downs. Other than that, probably it's going to be the RB4. Probably going to be the RB4 or Mayer. Like we're talking Kendre or A-Chain or Meyer. Like, I'm fine paying that for Calvin Ridley on
I look at my chart and I feel like 206 to 207 is a little low. I feel like it should be more like not that low. I look at 201, 202, 203, and I would keep those picks. So I kind of feel like Ridley Truther has it about right. Maybe I'd go 204, 205 instead of 203, but I think he's almost spot on in the value range. I think I got to look at that. Either Calvin Ridley's misranked or, I mean, for me, okay, when I get something like that, when I look at my ranks and I don't like it, something isn't right. Either my pick scale is wrong or Calvin Ridley's ranked wrong. One of those two things. I'm looking at the other players. I actually think it's that Calvin Ridley's ranked wrong. Should be ranked a little higher. Not because my pick scale actually looks pretty good with some of the other players.
I like to hear that.
But yeah, I do still think it'll be tough for me to ever have him because just like I'm so biased towards age.
Did you say you're too low on Calvin Ridley? Can you say that a little bit louder for the people in the back there, Tyler?
The people in the back, it feels like Tyler is too low on Calvin Ridley. How does that sound? Oh,
I like what I'm hearing.
We got to get rid of this. All right, there we go. Everything is fixed.
Hey guys,
now we got to take the comment shifting back. We're good. We're good. We're dealing with some tech. It's been a crazy show. We already had Andrew Erickson come on and is now had to go. So you have big shoes to fill, Hutch.
You guys had Andrew Erickson?
We did.
Yeah.
Yes. Why
I missed it.
Make that up. I wouldn't make that up.
I missed it.
Man, it was. Let's just say that it's the most.
You gotta be kidding.
I'm not.
Now
kidding.
you're just stuck with me, Hutch.
You're stuck with us. Let's just say it was the most nervous I was to do a show in a long time.
It was.
I don't usually get nervous, but I was nervous a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, I would have loved to meet Andrew Erickson. All right.
We will. I will say that, and David, I want you on for this. I'm going to start planning my NFL draft stream. So there might be other opportunities to meet him. I'm going to try. But you should definitely come on for that. I've done it the last 2 years. I've been like live.
I like to do like a 5-minute spot appearance because I usually get pretty drunk and pretty.
Oh no! Then you're on for an hour. You're on for an hour. You're on for an hour. Then
No,
you just,
come on for 5 minutes.
You just said very drunk. An hour. Perfect.
Then I gotta get back to my pizza and my wings and my whiskey on ice.
You do realize you're selling point, right? You're selling me on having you on for a long spot. If this is gonna be what you're gonna be doing, I love it.
I like to peep in. A lot of people do the whole draft day thing.
Oh, I know. I know. And I know that I'm not the only one, but it was very well received last year. And I was sick.
Those are always fun.
Too. So I'm hoping I'm not sick this year because I love the draft. David Montgomery and Miles Sanders re-signing or being moved, best landing spots. I will say for things like this, we're not going to talk about it too much because we could record the show and then an hour later they signed. So we're not going to speculate too much on these kind of free agents. I will say that neither is going to be back with their team. Sure.
I don't know that Montgomery isn't going to be back. I would say Sanders, it's looking unlikely.
Sanders is gone. Montgomery.
It seems like there's some mutual interest in potentially bringing David Montgomery back.
There has seemed to be like some reports saying there's interest in bringing Montgomery back. I wouldn't be surprised by it.
It would be better if he moved on just because of the way they showed an inclination to kind of ride the hot hand with Khalil Herbert.
I think Sanders is gone. I think with Montgomery, it's the thing of they said, we'll give you X. You can go to the free agent market and see if you can beat X. If you can, take it. If you can't, we'll see if we still want you. And if we still want you at that time, then you can come back and take X with us, whatever it is. I think but I think the Eagles have been like, Miles Sanders, you're gone. I don't think there was any contact in making an offer. Similar like the Cowboys with Dalton Schultz. I think they're like, goodbye. You're gone. We're not going to be retaining you. Best case for Ridley value-wise, well, I think that if you get a 2024 any first for Ridley, I'd be out easily.
You can probably get that now in some spots.
You probably have to add to Ridley to get it, but if you can, it would be a move I would make.
Yeah.
Like if you added the 205 to Ridley to get 24 first.
That's too much. I don't want to do that. I'm not adding.
I just always in a super flex, which I assume this is because of the recovered Ridley truther who loves playing super flex. If I'm
a halfway decent team, I'm keeping Calvin Ridley and I'm just picking
I'll
up
take
the 205. I'm trying to trade the 205 in a throw-in 3 for a 2024 one, but I'm not making Calvin Ridley the throw-in 3 or whatever. Like, I think you'll have some rookie hype to capitalize on with the 205.
Oh, I always do deals like this.
You won't have to add a lot to get a 2024 one. I think Calvin Ridley's a lot.
Well, then I'm definitely doing it then. If I have to add less, I'm definitely doing it. I'm willing to add more. But if I have to add less, I'm all
You're willing to add more than the 205 on top of Calvin Ridley?
No, I'm willing to add more than what you're saying. Like you're saying I can do it for less, then I'm all doing it all day. I was thinking something like the 205 would be what I'd have to add.
Yeah, you can definitely do it for less than that.
Oh, well, then I'm doing it all day. I'm doing it all day. Then it's not even a question for me.
You know, I would agree with Tyler there as well. Like I think that's a smash.
I will say in Superflex especially, if I know that these firsts are one of the ways you can acquire a super premium asset that it's hard to acquire otherwise. You know, a top core. Like I would say in this draft, there's going to be 3 to 6 of them. Probably at least 3, maybe 4. Anthony Richardson is the 4th. These quarterbacks or a Bijan type prospect, someone who's super premium. There's usually 3 or 4 in a super flex class. And the first is a way to acquire something. So if I can acquire something super premium without having to pay something I feel is super premium, I'm always going to lean on the side of that being a possibility.
And the first 4 picks in the rookie draft this year all have at least a second round startup ADP. 101,
exactly.
104 are all going in the second round. Then you talk about even 105, that's going in like the early
that's why I'm saying it was probably going to be at least, it was 3. Now Anthony Richardson looks like he's becoming the 4th.
106 will be in like that
fifth
round range.
We'll have to see.
If the team, I wouldn't send my 2024 one for Calvin Ridley. Absolutely in agreement. But if I'm a competing team and I got to add to him to get one, I'm fine just keeping him and competing.
I do think people are kind of past that move also. I think people are much more judicious with their future first than they used to be. I think people hold on to them tighter than in the past. That's what I found.
Yeah, but I feel like that's more in general. I feel like in every league you're gonna have a few people.
I do also feel like
that type of people.
Yeah, every league's different. Every league has different people. You just gotta. It's always about just talking to the other managers and figuring out like what they value, what they like, and you gotta find yourself a good deal.
Yeah, my influence is also
really all it is.
on my circle. I'm so adamant about that the people that I interact with are probably biased toward that approach.
Yeah, I would say.
I play in Dynasty leagues with all sorts of. I play in Dynasty leagues with like some casual people, a lot of analysts. Like,
I wasn't really talking about league.
So many types of strategies.
I was more talking about like people on Twitter, like they interact, they're following me and interacting with me, and like the questions where I'm like solo tagged, like they're just asking me. So it's not a surprise that they're going with what I generally say to do.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be surprised that that's happening.
Yeah.
I don't love players. Yeah. Ed's kind of saying Ed and I, Ed is one of my like original long-term patrons. So, we would very much have like a similar approach. Adaiko. Yeah. I've heard good things about Adaiko. I don't know him super personally, but I have heard really good things about him and his data approach. So, I honestly, like I said, I
haven't heard him either, actually.
I've heard of him.
I haven't
super
heard of him.
familiar.
He's the main
with his
data analyst
work.
for the Bulletproof Patreon, which is run by Drew being
okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
He does a lot of great stuff pulling ADPs, and if you go to bulletproofff.com, literally that's the first thing that shows up on the page is the ADP, and so he's pulling this from actual sleeper leagues. You can even filter it by certain things for different settings. And so these are actual Dynasty startups that are happening on Sleeper where he's pulling this ADP from. So it's a little bit more reliable market information, especially in the off season, than like a KTC, which is a voting based, or like a DLF, which is mock based ADP data. So this is the ADP from the startup draft. So it tends to be, I find, probably the most accurate source we have for ADP data this time of year.
Good. I'm in a live 12-team Superflex PPR best ball startup.
Yeah.
He went Ridley, went 806, 4 spots after Kirk.
I like that value.
Yeah.
I think that's solid value. I mean, Ridley's someone you kind of have to take your shot on. I think that's a solid dart throw to make. I don't think that's.
You're not really finding players with wide receiver 1 upside at the 806.
Yeah, not really.
He's one of very few players at that spot who has that level of tangible upside.
I
think I would have him more towards like the mid 7th, I think, in my rankings. On my big board, let me check where I got him. But I definitely have him above the 806.
I know on Underdog Best Ball, he's currently top 20 wide receiver.
For redraft, yeah.
I
have him at like
redraft,
late 6th valuation. So I'm very happy if I get him at. I know I don't have to take him at the late 6th, but I think that's where he should be ranked.
Somewhere in the 7th, 8th seems like appropriate value to me.
Mid 8th, I'm smashing that all day.
Yeah, I was gonna say mid to later 8th. Like I'll take that. But what do you think about in terms of we kind of talked about already, but Kirk going 4 spots after? Like, I mean, I like that value too. If people are gonna
802 for Kirk, yeah, I like that as well.
4 spots after Kirk. Okay. I read that wrong, but that's still that's not a bad value.
No, yeah.
I think we'll see a lot of places where they're kind of within 2, 3, 4 picks. I think
most drafts are going to be
a couple
close.
Receivers.
Yeah, most drafts
with
a
couple receivers on the same team in the past. I think it was kind of like a pick 'em between, for example, Sutton and Judy last year. Like, I think they were pretty close to each other for a while, and then I think some people really took it opposite
Sutton
ways.
Went ahead.
Yeah,
Sutton
by the end,
kind of surging ahead towards the end of the offseason.
But for a while in the offseason, they were basically 2-3 picks away, and it's like when you got to that point, it's all right. Who do you like better? Who are you going to take the shot on?
It kind of started Judy barely ahead, and then he had that rest, and that was kind of like cooled the market on him a little bit. And then obviously there was camp reports. Russ prefers Sutton. He started getting those. He's going to have the DK role. And by the end of the offseason, Cortland Sutton was like a 3rd, 4th round ADP.
Yeah.
One of the biggest busts of the year, I would say. The whole Broncos offense related pretty much.
All right. So Toronto Dave says, great point on the potential opportunity if an injury to someone else. I think that was in relation to talking about Zay Jones and some of those receiving weapons that they have. If one of them goes down, Zay Jones is going to come in, pop in, have a couple good games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's I think Andrew Erickson was saying it earlier, the Jaguars were the healthiest team, I think, throughout the whole year. They're really lucky in terms of not being forced to miss that many guys due to injury or like really anything at all. And so I can imagine that their luck is not going to, kind of carry over to this extent next year. And we don't know who it is.
Yeah,
Obviously, Ingram has some history of it, but It could be Ridley coming back from 2 years. Like he could, it could be Kirk after a great first year with the team with Trevor Lawrence last year. So we never really know, but it's just one of those things where it's a good gamble to bet on, where you have Zay Jones in the back pocket.
Yeah, and
if
you're
something
not
happens,
you're not gonna be paying anything for Zay Jones with Kirk and Ridley and Ingram. Like Zay Jones is gonna be thrown to the bottom of drafts and completely forgotten about. Like you're to get him for so cheap. Like, sorry, I think I did join after this conversation though, so I don't remember hearing what was said during.
No,
this
I thought it was. I was looking at the underdog best ball.
Yeah, where's Zay Jones at?
And Zay Jones is behind KJ Osborne. That's the
name
that's
where we're at. Like,
him. And I was like, holy moly! Like,
yeah,
I'd much rather take that chance. But obviously, Thielen's out. Maybe that's caused a spike for Osborne, as if they're gonna have him as their secure number 2. Like
right now.
Yeah,
I see Osborne as a fantastic sell right now.
If you can angle it in a way that you're saying that Osborne's that clear-cut number 2 there now, it's like, absolutely go for it. Sell him for whatever, really. But
free agency's still out there. We still have a bunch. I mean, the free agency wide receiver class isn't very talented. I mean, you got guys like Allen Lazard and Jacoby Myers at the top. Those aren't players we're really looking at too deeply for fantasy football. But you also have the draft coming up. The Vikings have some picks that they could use on a wide receiver. And when you look at this receiving core, it's like, after Jefferson and Osborne, I mean, they do have tight end TJ Hawkinson, but wide receiver specifically, after Osborne and Jefferson, it's kind of like a no man's land. Like, they need somebody in there. And I feel like Kirk Cousins is not going to be able to supply KJ Osborne after that happens. So I'm full sell KJ Osborne for as much as you can get.
Yeah, he's definitely a sell because Adam Thielen wasn't even very good last year. Like,
he wasn't. He wasn't a target hog. He
was by no means an obstacle to KJ Osborne producing. And you talk about the profile just in general. KJ Osborne, 5th round pick. He was a complete dud as a rookie. He's got 650 yards each of the past 2 years, 655 and 650. I mean, this is just not a profile that really profiles to matter at any point. If I can add a 2024 3 and get a 2 for Osborne and a 3, I would take the 2. So I would throw a 3 on him, see if I can get a future 2.
So I was looking at, obviously we started this with Zay Jones, but we talked a lot about DJ Moore, and I think it was again Erickson that was saying that he's not someone that's like a true difference maker where he's going to win you weeks and stuff. And so I thought it was really funny. Zay Jones had more top 5 and top 10 weekly finishes than DJ Moore last year. Like, it's just like in best ball, great scoop.
That's not surprising. That's not surprising at all, honestly.
I would have. I still would have thought.
No, I would have absolutely picked Zay Jones. If you ask me that question, there's no way I'm not like Zay Jones, especially towards the end, like towards like the last 5 6. What? What'd you say?
What are we doing with Zay Jones?
We are talking about.
We're just talking about him.
Just mentioned how Zay Jones had outproduced DJ Moore last year when you look at top 10 and top 5 finishes. And Conan was saying that was surprising him. That didn't surprise me at all because Zay Jones was like, he was straight up out targeting Christian Kirk in the second half of the season. Like, he was just straight. Like, it wasn't very surprising to hear that. And DJ Moore's offense was just so bad. Like, that Panthers offense was kind of a disaster most of the year. Like, I'm not surprised with that at all.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's just one of those things, especially in a format like best ball. It's like,
and
he's real valuable when he pops up and he costs you a nothing pick later in the rounds, and he's outproducing a guy in terms of the upper end, the high end explosive weeks, the guys that are drafted a much higher. So I think it is a great point that we were talking about, just in terms of snagging him late. If something happens, you got that increased potential.
Absolutely.
We got traded for a lot of Herbert last season when people were disappointed. I thought were people that disappointed last year?
I think you mean
Justin Herbert.
Like
Justin, yeah. People were not
really upset.
Yeah, Justin Herbert was somebody that disappointed a lot of people last year.
This past season.
This season.
Yeah.
This past
2022, not 2021.
I'm saying this says you traded for a lot of him last season when people aren't disappointed now? Aren't people disappointed after this most
especially the playoff
season?
That playoff loss is brutal.
People
right?
were
Like
this frustration was building throughout the year. Justin Herbert was not even, I
yeah,
believe, a top 12 quarterback in
okay.
points per game this year.
No,
No,
but
he
I
wasn't.
thought I'm saying like I agree right now, and since this
Well, this
past
window
season
has been open since the end of the season
yeah,
to buy. Since
but this
mid-season, I would say.
I traded for a lot of yeah, okay. No, I guess it was confusing in terms of I thought you were saying you traded for him before this past season, and it's like then I didn't think people were disappointed at all over his first 2 seasons, like, but after this year, definitely understand that disappointment. And again, like one of those guys that I think Tyler, you definitely said it. He didn't just all of a sudden forget how to be good at football. Like that's
No.
if people are lower on him, if people are kind of out on him for whatever, like just after this past year, like go in, make some offers, see what the price is, see what the value
I think he's kind of in that range where for me he's like a buy and a sell, like because I do think there's some panic, but I also think it's not the level of panic of like a Lamar Jackson. Like you can still probably sell Justin Herbert for Lamar Jackson plus maybe a future 1-2 swap, even 2025 1-2 swap in your favor. People are scared of the long term. What happens to Lamar long term? I still think you can flip Herbert into Lamar Jackson plus. I think Deshaun Watson's not everybody's flavor. I don't rule out those types of players just because I'm really just focusing on point production. I think you can probably get a very significant plus going from Justin Herbert to Deshaun Watson. So I think while he still can be a buy, I wouldn't rule out selling him either.
That's definitely. If you find a Justin Herbert super fan in your league, it's kind of they're going to be paying up. They're going to be paying up for him.
And we had this earlier. Thank you, FF Lefty. But I don't know if that's true.
But you're wrong.
Hey, don't get me wrong. Duvernay was on like a per touch basis, like very explosive, efficient. I guess,
insane.
but it's not. It's something that's not gonna.
Arnold Mooney has 1,000 yards in a season.
Yeah,
Devin Duvernay has never crossed 407 in 3 years, so it's not really a conversation between those two. And also, Chase Claypool is significantly better than Devin Duvernay as well.
Yeah. And what do we think about Lamar's been hurt the last couple of years? He can't win championships if he's always hurt. I mean, but that's not something that we're gonna rely on. That's not something we're gonna take as
injuries are never something you rely on. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it tons in the past. Players who start off their careers injury prone, that or like quote unquote injury prone, get injured a bunch of times. Like, I mean, you could just rattle off a couple names like Frank Gore. You can rattle off Debo Samuel. Like you can rattle off guys like this. What Keenan Allen? Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, like guys that just get hurt and then all of a sudden they just don't get hurt and they're so fantastic. So I think Lamar. I mean, the thing is he plays his game very dangerously. Like, as he's not a big guy like Josh Allen is. And he runs the football a lot, taking big hits. So he absolutely does play his game with a lot of danger involved. So I do kind of understand that worry, but I don't think it's a major concern.
Is I'm just me, or has there not been a lot of fantasy relevant news in the first 3.5 hours of the tampering period?
It's just you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of linemen so far. A lot of linemen.
Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's 3.5 hours in.
Yeah, we can't expect two.
We got a bunch of linemen, I think.
There's been a lot. Well, no, I'm talking about in terms of free agent deals.
I'm checking the sleeper news.
It's because there's not going to be a lot in general. There's a terrible free agent class. What moves are you expected to shift the landscape in a significant way?
I guess there aren't that many. It's interesting that there haven't been.
Definitely not wide receiver, but I do think there's a lot of running backs. Not all of that interesting.
Mike White's going to Miami.
But I think the landing spots for some of them will be something.
The Raiders
closed
signing for Jimmy Garoppolo.
We talked about that earlier. Although we more talked about
Kareem Hunt goes to the Dolphins. I'll be in.
Austin Eckler is requesting permission to speak for the teams about trade.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say about Kareem Hunt?
No,
I
Austin
said,
Eckler.
No, I was saying, you see Kareem Hunt go somewhere where he might be the guy. Like, I'll be interested in him than some of these other guys.
Kareem Hunt's washed. He's done.
He
looked so bad last year.
He was not good, but I could still see him being like a guy who goes to Denver and they're like, all right, Javante's not.
Yeah, that's the kind of job he would need to take.
Yeah, I feel like that's Miles Sanders though.
Could see him going back to Kansas City.
I see Miles Sanders in Denver.
Well, the Texans made a big quarterback signing. They signed Case
Porter?
Yeah,
corner?
Case
Case
Keenum.
Keenum. It's Case Keenum. I was
Yeah.
joking.
Well, we were just talking about Lamar. What do we? I mean, I think we're gonna all like this deal.
You do?
I mean, it's gotta be a
It's
super
fine.
flex.
It's
Gotta be a
fine.
super flex, right?
That's just a smash.
I'll
That's
take
a
Lamar.
Smash.
But it's-
That's
I'll
that's
take
what
Lamar,
I'm
but it's
saying.
not-
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about that.
It's fair.
Yeah,
It's
I like
fair.
that deal.
I think it's fair value wise.
I
You
do
got-
not
you got
feel
your
like I'm
choice.
getting a fair deal if I'm selling
got your-
Lamar for 102 and 2. I feel like I'm getting ripped off.
I've seen him go for less
Oh.
more often than I'm seen. Put it this way: in deals I've seen for Lamar, I've seen him go for less than this, more than I've seen him go for more. Put it that way:
Really?
more often, less.
I agree.
than more.
I agree. Like when I see
think
like
that
trades
just
on
means he's
Twitter and in my
undervalued.
leagues, like
Oh,
I'm
I'm
usually
not
feel
saying I
like it's-
disagree with that.
lessness.
My personal
feel like
value on
the
him is a little
baseline's
bit more
usually-
than this, but I've seen him go for
Yeah.
less more often than more. I
Yeah,
think that your
Lamar is-
average fantasy manager is at the point of just
Get rid
frustration
of
to
him.
no end with Lamar,
Lamar
which is not
is,
where I'm at.
Lamar is. I see Lamar as a
I'm
buy
not
low.
there.
I'm buying.
Oh, so do I.
I'm buying Lamar low. I'm buying Lamar low. Absolutely. And if I
So
can
do
get him
I.
for
I'm
this,
just saying that I don't think you even have to pay this. I don't think
No,
you have to pay
you
this.
might not
more
have
than
to.
I think you
this.
can pay less.
That's
I think you can pay less.
no.
It depends on what you're playing with. It depends on who you're playing with. But
Nobody
You have
in
to
my
understand-
league is taking 102 and 2.
Yeah.
You have to
It's just not
understand-
happening.
yeah, I
that-
don't know if anybody would either. I would take that shot, but I don't know if anybody is.
You have to understand how bad like most of the people asking me for advice do not play in very smart leagues. They want the advice from me so I can help them steamroll the competition. That's bad. You don't realize how bad some of the people playing Dynasty are. Like it's yes, I say it's gotten smarter.
Sure, why give the 202 then even? Just send 102. I mean, in an
Oh,
ideal
I
world,
mean,
we're just buying
I will
the cheapest
say
one.
that I'll just say that I've seen Lamar go
We're
for
just-
less than a
Just
top half
fake
first.
money.
Yes.
We just can
and
do
just
whatever. we
I'll
want.
say that I've seen him go for less than that. So
Less
while
than a
this
top
might
half
be-
first?
Yes. So
Oh
I'm
man, that's
No.
crazy.
But
I have
what I'm
not seen
saying
that.
is
That's
I'm
a
more than
wild.
Those are outliers,
That's
though. We
wild.
can't.
There's
It happened more than
no
once.
way.
We can't
That's not
say
a
we
normal
see
thing,
that more than
though.
once. But
no, I'm just
we
telling
can't say
you
that's
that
a baseline. All right,
Conan, what I'm saying is that this is an
110,
opportunity. This is an opportunity to capitalize on an opportunity to gain a lot of great to hit singles, right? You want to do that. You want to do it. You don't want to turn down good deals because you can get better ones for the promise of better ones potentially. But I'm telling you that with Lamar Jackson, this is an opportunity to take a home run trade. In some leagues, you can do it. Why not ask? What's the worst thing? They say no. That's so bad. I mean, they said no. Oh, what a problem.
I don't think any of us are disagreeing that it's wrong.
I'm
to
just
try.
saying that this is a home run opportunity with Lamar
Sure,
Jackson to buy
absolutely.
very
It is.
low, where you
100%.
cannot just. This deal to me is a single. This deal is win, but it's a small win. There
This
are
is a
deals.
smash.
There are deals. I have seen deals that are team changing involving Lamar Jackson. So I
Let's
would
just say
explore those
whoever
options.
you take at QB at 202 has a Tua type rookie season. He's gonna fall to
Right.
the fifth. Lamar Jackson's not falling anywhere in Superflex ADP.
Well-
Even with he tears an ACL, he's gonna be a first, second round startup pick next year.
I
He's not
do
going
think
anywhere.
with Lamar that if next year is
Oh,
not good, the
hold on.
value will finally start to drop.
to what the top of the
The
second
late
round.
second.
I'm sending all these offers.
Yeah.
103 and
Late second in the
203.
Superflex.
Bang.
This has
Send it
the
off.
potential to be a
Oh, send it, yeah,
massive,
send it away.
massive win. The risk associated.
I
with
would
rookie
start lower
quarterbacks-
than this, is all I'm saying. I agree with you, but I would just start lower than this. I think this is not the point you need to start. I think you can start with less. I'd say.
Yes.
Just offer the
All right,
102.
I'm starting him with 110.
That would be better, yeah.
110.
Go for it. Start with
no.
110.
110.
What happens?
That'll be-
You say
no,
say
but
settle-
but that's the thing is I feel like yes, I understand you've seen that, but if I start with something that low, I feel like that should be laughed at. Come on.
No, because when you
I
because
would
when you
suggest,
play
if
yeah, when
wanna
you play
start with something more
Dynasty,
fair, start
you
with
could-
something like the 106 and the 202.
I think that
And
yeah.
that.
Hold on. So back what Conan was saying with the 110, it's a really
110,
funny thing
203.
because that's a really funny thing because when you say you want to offer less, you also don't want to lowball the person to the point where they're gonna laugh at you because then you're ruining the entire discussion. I've
Right.
received offers that I'm like, what the crap is this? I don't want to trade with you anymore.
Yep.
It just kind of ruins the
alright.
conversation in Dynasty when you deal like that. You can't lowball somebody too much. I mean,
I
you
do it
want
all the
obviously.
time.
You want to win the
But-
trade, obviously,
can
but
do
you
There's a
it.
can't-
fine
you
line.
can do
There's a
it.
fine line.
There's a
I
fine
agree.
line.
I
You
feel
have
like
to follow
since-
that.
Since I'm I'm me, a real person, people know who I am, people are less likely to burn the trading relationship because they know me. They don't want to piss real life me off.
Well, let me ask
But,
this.
maybe I'm able to get away with that in a way
I have a
that
league
I
where I
wouldn't be able
have
to
Joe
otherwise.
Burrow. Do you think I could get? Like? I'm gonna ask you this genuine question. Do you think I could get Lamar Jackson and another first for Joe Burrow?
I'd try. I would do
You might
it
have
for
to
sure
throw
if you
something
would.
in, like a 303
Why
or
not?
Yeah.
something.
I think I could because I think I
Why
could do
not
that.
try
I would
it?
do
What do
that.
you have to lose?
I'm going to offer 110, 203, and a Pro Bowl quarterback myself, Tyler Huntley, in exchange for Lamar.
Yeah.
Let's
That's
see.
Go for it.
That's funny.
Oh my god, that's so great.
Yeah,
Hey, it's
I
just a
agree
Pro
with
Bowl
this.
swap.
This is a good statement. I think it's fair to say that it's not going to hurt Fields that DJ Moore came to the Bears. I think
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That's a good point. I love that.
But I think we
love
all agreed that DJ Moore to the Bears is better for Fields than it is for DJ Moore. I think we all agreed on that. I think we can all
Most
agree.
likely.
Let's go
Most
a step
likely, yeah.
further. I think we can all agree. What would we have preferred? That DJ Moore was a part of this trade, or that DJ Moore had stayed on the Panthers with the quarterback being drafted at 1, assuming it was
Panthers.
not Anthony Richardson
Panthers.
and it was younger Stroud. Either of them.
Panthers. Absolutely.
Better
I think we
Panthers.
would all have preferred him stay and be with younger Stroud than with Fields.
Yep.
Not Richardson, but
Yeah,
younger Stroud.
agreed.
Younger Stroud.
Yeah.
So
would
I
agree
do
with
think
that.
in that respect, it is a downgrade. Also, it would have been even better because if he had been with younger Stroud, he would have been one of the only weapons on that team at all.
Do you, what do you guys think of, obviously not a massive needle mover, but Terrace Marshall or Shi Smith or Laviska Shenault? Any of them?
No, it's been
No, come on. You know
none
this.
of those
Bad
guys
players
doing
are
anything.
bad. They don't become good
Yep.
because good players were traded away. We all know this.
Tyler
I think this is
couldn't have
something
said
that
that
all
better.
of us agree on.
Bad players don't
Even though we have
magically
different
become good.
approaches, I think we agree on that.
He would be the equivalent of this year's Alan Lazard with a shitty quarterback.
Terrace Marshall hasn't even done what Alan Lazard has done.
Yeah. He had a
Alan
better
Lazard
prospect profile. He'd have a better. You got to give him
Well,
that.
Alan Lazard at least had a history of doing something in the NFL. Terrace
Barely,
Marshall has
barely.
done nothing. Zero. So
Yeah.
Terrace Marshall is
He's just the newest vacated target poster boy. That will probably be selling.
vacated targets. Your Peter Howard special right there. And I will say I love Peter Howard, and he's having a field day with some of these activities. So people should check out his Twitter at PA Howdy. It's a lot of interesting stuff coming out of him.
Yeah, that's the first and the second. That's the picks.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely, right? Not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close.
The second's on the wrong side.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Man. You guys hate
Not
Swift.
even close.
You
It's-
really
Yeah,
hate
because-
Swift.
I
Who
do.
are you taking at 109?
I mean, I think I would prefer 202 over Swift. I'm just
That's
not
disgusting.
interested. I'm just
That's
not
disgusting.
interested in DeAndre.
I
Swift.
don't know if I'd go that
I'm-
far.
He's
That's
a
tough.
no thank you for me. I'll
I don't want to add the 24-2 to pay for Swift if I'm giving the 109. But the 109, I mean, you're talking about what? You're getting who? Addison or Levis?
yeah, I'd rather them
Or
easily over Swift.
Charbonnet? I mean,
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I'd
if
rather
you
all of
wanted
them
to
easily.
That's
Yeah, not
close.
even close.
Yep.
that's
For me,
close. But to
easily.
say that's not even close,
No, I agree. I genuinely don't think it is. For me, it's not.
that's just a terrible valuation of Swift. I mean,
Maybe it is, but DeAndre Swift is a player. I'm good. It's not Calvin Ridley, who I think could be good. It's just the age. DeAndre Swift is just a no thank you for me. I'm just good.
But you
The
have to
Lions-
also just
Yeah.
talk about some of these guys already have him. You can't just say, "Oh no, thank you." He's already on the team. You can't just trade him away for the 202 because you don't like DeAndre Swift.
Oh, I've told people
to.
to.
your team.
I've told people to trade him for. I think I've been able to squeeze a bit more than that, but I've actually had some patrons ask me about trying to move DeAndre Swift, and they're like, "I can't get anything. I can't get anything." And then I'm like, "All right, just hold if you can't get anything." But I had
Because the
some people
Lions
not even be
clearly
able to
showed
get
last
to
year
it.
that they don't want to use him as a workhorse back, and then when he does get used as a workhorse back, he gets hurt. Like that is what he's proven to us in his career so far.
He's
Like,
Every
that- a
running
player I don't
back
want.
gets hurt.
yeah, absolutely, but he's gotten. It's just like
his
been more
usage when he
involved
was
in that.
healthy this year was no good for me either.
Yeah, it was no good. It just wasn't
player-
there.
he
That's
was
why I was saying
healthy
the
for,
Lions
like, the
don't
first
want to use
week.
him.
And he
The
had
Lions
like
don't want to use him as a.
15
They don't want to
carries
use him.
He's just
And
a
they're going to
player that
re-sign Jamal
I'm.
Williams. There have
I'm
been a lot of
good
interest in Jamal
on-
Williams.
I would say wait till post draft to buy him because there is room. Detroit's fairly high in the odds for Bijan. They do have 2 early picks. Like it's not impossible that they let Jamal Williams walk, draft Bijan, and then next year they let DeAndre Swift walk.
Well, I don't think there's any question that they're going to let DeAndre Swift walk no matter what they do. This is
I
Miles
think you're
Sanders
too
all
low
over.
on DeAndre Swift.
It's Miles
I
Sanders
just
all over
think
again.
we'll
I think
agree to disagree.
this is a
on one.
player who I think what we can agree on, maybe you don't agree, but I think what I'm saying is that the Lions do not like DeAndre Swift. The Lions
I
don't
don't
like
know.
him.
That's for
I
sure.
couldn't agree more.
Well, then we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, the Lions have proven over his career that they don't want.
I'm hardened.
They don't want to use him.
It's difficult to change my mind because nothing's going to happen. The stuff on the field says what it says, so I think I'm pretty locked in on the Lions don't like DeAndre Swift. There was a report recently. They said that there's a report from the Lions beat that said that Lions do not have DeAndre Swift in their long-term plans. They're planning to let him walk as his rookie contract expires in 2023, and I don't see any reason, given their actions.
Yeah, there's another report from
that.
Dan Campbell saying how he wanted to give it another shot, and he wanted to give they wanted to feature DeAndre Swift this year. So there's reports on both sides. You can point to either one.
Yeah, I'm good though. He's just a player I'll pass on. I can't even. You're gonna talk about someone I'm done with, Aaron Rodgers. We talk about him. It's like I don't even. We'll have to see. I don't know.
So much talk on him.
I expect the deal to get done, though. I really do. Important to be grounded.
Yeah, someone who just read this.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't excel in that area. I don't excel in that area, and I'm well aware of it. It's not a strength of mine.
Wow. According to Trey Wingo, pretty reliable.
We saw that, but then Ian Rappaport said no, and then it was someone else said yes, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah, it's been
like when the papers are signed. When the papers are signed, we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers being traded. But I'm like, this is like the third time it's happened this week where there was one person said the trade is basically done, and then someone else came out and said it's not.
I think the question we need to ask is not about Garrett Wilson. It's about Elijah Moore, and it's about how.
But we can't even talk about that because we don't know. Elijah Moore could be in the trade.
Let's
going
just
the other
say
way.
he is.
I think Elijah Moore's fantasy relevant career is done with the Jets. Like, it's clear that the way he's posted on social media, the way he's played on the field, and the way the Jets have used him is that the Jets clearly do not like Elijah Moore. And it's clear that the relationship there is done. I believe, like, I was all in Elijah Moore last year. He is a supremely talented wide receiver. I really do. I mean, I have a jersey signed by him behind me. Like, I love Elijah Moore. I do.
Yeah, it's an Elijah Moore jersey.
It's Elijah Moore Ole Miss jersey. I love Elijah Moore. He's a really talented wide receiver. I think he can be a wide receiver one of an offense. But at the same time, like, the relationship with the Jets just clearly isn't there, and I don't think it's going to be there just because a new quarterback comes in. It's still the same coaching staff, the same system. It's still the same offense, like still the same team. I think Elijah Moore is not going to be fantasy relevant as long as he's on the Jets. If he goes to the Packers, that could be a different story.
I have a concern also that if let's say he's not part of the trade, and let's say Aaron Rodgers does come there, and Elijah Moore is on the team, I have a concern that Aaron Rodgers is going to want an Aaron Rodgers receiver to come in and play more time. Alan Lazard, by the way, is going to be that player.
Randall Cobb.
It'll be Alan Lazard. Yeah. So then they're going to just force Alan Lazard onto the field to please Aaron Rodgers alongside Garrett Wilson. Force Alan Lazard onto the field as the wide receiver too. Give Elijah Moore even fewer snaps, even fewer opportunities. I feel bad for Elijah Moore because I think he's a talented player and he's someone, if the price goes low enough, I would be in on. But I do agree with Hutch that it's not going to happen here. It's not going to happen here, but he's a player that I don't want to quit on because wide receiver careers are longer than his time on one team. And I think if he gets out of there and into the right other situation, he's talented and I think he could succeed. So again, if the price continues to drop, I will be out. I'll be in on him. I do want to say though, that I think some people, if Aaron Rodgers is traded there, the price on Elijah Moore will rise to a degree that I'm not comfortable with.
Elijah Moore on like Texans or the Panthers right now.
Might sell him.
So great.
I wouldn't rule out him having a bounce back in with the Jets and that relationship being repaired because we look at Brandon Ayuk. He was on the fringes. That team was not happy with him. That team was publicly roasting him about his habits, about this. There was a fractured relationship at a time there. What happened? They remembered, this is a talented guy, A. B, we need to use this guy. He's talented. And now you're talking about motivations. Elijah Moore, if he stays there, he got a lot of motivation to zip his lip, be a good whatever you want to call it, and go to work with Aaron Rodgers. So I would not just say, there's no chance that Elijah Moore repairs his relationship with the Jets.
He feels more like Dante Pettis than he does Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
And
He
that
was a much better prospect.
But in terms
prospects
of
as a guy
doghouse,
like Brandon
though.
Ayuk. Dante Pettis was a
terms of
late round pick.
doghouse.
He was not a good prospect. Elijah Moore, Hutchinson said he was much more Brandon Ayuk. He was drafted.
Well, he wasn't a first round pick. I mean, he was a second round
He
pick.
was
like
a
Dante
second
Pettis.
round pick.
Just like Dante Pettis.
Dante Pettis was not a second round pick.
Yes, he was. Go look it up.
Dante
Yes, he was.
Pettis?
Yep.
Was he really?
Absolutely. Yeah, he was a second round pick. Absolutely.
I believe he was. I'm gonna confirm.
But the difference for me, the reason why
44.
I stuck with Brandon Ayuk, but went away from Elijah. I have a difference between Brandon Ayuk and Elijah Moore is that Brandon Ayuk, he was in the doghouse to start year 2, but by the end of the year, it got together. Elijah Moore did not have that happen.
It only got worse too. Elijah Moore
worse as the year went on.
Yeah,
so I'm a little bit more inclined to say that Elijah Moore is stuck in the doghouse because it maintained for a whole year over someone who had 6 games in the doghouse like Ayuk. And then after those 6 games, the rest of the 11 games, he was like wide receiver 20 in 2021. So I do have a difference between those two players. Those are not the same to me.
Yeah, it's not the same situation. Yeah, like Ty was saying, it only got worse with the targets, the snaps, and like the anger from Elijah Moore from social media. Like the relationship, it only got worse.
Though,
and
in Dynasty, though, I would still be. I see him actually in some places too low because he's still very young. He's a talented player. Even after his rookie contract is completed into 2025 free agency this year, people are talking about Mecole Hardman having like a free agent market. Paris Campbell having a free agent market. Why should these players who've done nothing in 4 years have a free? But they will. They have a free agent market because they had draft capital originally. So people are still interested in those players. I think Elijah Moore is someone who we want to keep on our radar in Dynasty because he is talented. And I think we were right about him as a prospect. He showed that. But I am a little tepid about him getting it together on the Jets. I would love to see him. Not that the situation on the Packers is great, but I'd love to see him go just for a change away from this coaching staff who obviously, to me, dislikes him. I'd like to see a change.
Yeah, Elijah Moore, I mean, like, as you're saying, just clearly
it feels personal. Like, it feels personal with Elijah Moore. It feels personal. Like, it feels like it's nothing to do with Elijah Moore's talent or on the field. It just feels like there's something with this coaching staff personally. That's why I'd like a change. I'd love to see him. Not that I'm confident in Matt LaFleur being an excellent head coach or like the best head coach ever, but I would just
Jordan Love too is the quarterback.
Change of scenery would be nice, I think, for him. It would be. He requested a trade in season. I mean, we know he wanted out. He didn't get it, but we know he wanted out. So I think it would be nice if he got what he wanted and got a change of scenery, and maybe his talent could start to shine. And
you mentioned a little bit too with the rookie year, like he had when you look at rookie wide receivers and what they're able to do, like Elijah Moore flashed so much talent. Like he had like everything you want from a rookie season.
Being like the wide receiver 5 or so, I think.
Yeah, he had a stretch of being like a top 10 wide receiver for fantasy. Like he showed you everything you want to in a rookie season.
That's why I don't want to give up on him, but I also want to be realistic. And generally when teams,
if I hadn't already had him on my Dynasty leagues, I'd be buying. But
generally when teams quit on a player for a whole year, they don't usually come back to that player later. Sometimes they do, but it's rare. Typically, that player finds success if they really are talented, as I believe Elijah Moore is. That success often comes on another team, so I would love to see him traded to Green Bay. What do we value Cam Akers right now?
Cam Akers to me, I'm actually more on the buy side with Cam Akers in the sell because I think you can get him for a pretty good price in Dynasty Fantasy Football. I think I've seen him sold for like less than a mid-second in a lot of Dynasty leagues and a Superflex league. I want to take that shot. I know it's disgusting. But like this team is clearly, when you look at this team and with the way they're moving, like getting rid of Jalen Ramsey recently, they're looking to trade and drop a lot of veterans. Like they are clearly moving into a stage of their team where they're rebuilding. And a rebuild stage is not a stage where you're going to add a significant running back with any significant capital of any kind. Like that's just, they're not going to be adding running backs.
What picks did they get?
I don't think they
in the Ramsey trade.
They got it like that, like a fifth round.
They got a third
or a third,
right?
third rounder. Yeah, they're not going to add running backs. They're not going to add any.
They have a 2, a 3.
To truly destroy.
They got
makers.
Hunter Long in a third.
Okay. Yeah, they
got 2
2
3s and then 5s. So basically, if it's not the 2 or the 2 3s, it's not going to be a running back who matters in the draft.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
This running back class, I think I know what Tyler's going to bring up. This running back class is deep. It is a deep class. But
the 5th round, that's not enough.
No, it would have to be one of those original 3.
2 or 3s.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yes.
But I do think this is a running back class where there will be impact running backs in the 3rd round. I do think
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could potentially be. This
But
running
with
back
the
is
team with
has to
the
be.
needs the Rams have, I
this
don't
is not
see
a
them
team I
spending
think
one
is
of
looking
those
that way.
few
Yeah, they're
picks.
not going to add. Like I was just saying, like they're in a rebuild.
After
They're not going
last
to be
year
adding a running
too,
back.
they already added Kyron.
They're
Look
not
how
going.
that
They're not
turned
going to
out.
be adding they're not going to be adding a running back. And then when you look at just, I mean, that's going to be so much opportunity for him. And
I
you
just
saw the
wonder-
But there are
flashes
free agents.
last year.
There are free agents. I just wonder with Cam Akers, like,
They were like 50 million over. They're so
what am
over
I
the
going to
cap
have
right
to
now,
pay?
though.
You know,
They're
what
so
am I
over the
going to have
cap.
to pay?
They don't
to
have
get
the
Cam
space for that.
Akers?
But the
He
thing
really
with
wasn't-
Cam Akers, like he's not getting a ton of receiving work as it is. They don't have to bring in a super talented second or high paid second running back. He's not valued very high as it is right now. Like they bring in another one who's even halfway decent. Like he's just there's not
He's
going to be. It's
someone-
going to be hard to sell him.
He's someone that's
for
kind of
anything.
like, if I'm there on the
I'm
clock
buying.
and I like the price, I'm okay taking him.
I'm
But
excited.
I'm not
for him.
like, I'm not excited. I'm not
If I was going to
excited.
take a asset in that range with like injury, like issues and complicating question marks, I would just rather prefer Rashad Bateman, who's just like a wide receiver, first round pick, like just not nearly a significant injury. I just think you see wide receivers are going to bounce back and have a longer.
I could tell
healthier
Erickson
careers.
wanted to go back at me when I said Rashad Bateman was not it. And I feel like there were so many people who wanted to go back at me at the same time that we
Yeah.
just kind of moved on. But we know that I do not like Rashad Bateman. And now
Who would you
I'm
prefer,
okay.
Cam Akers
I'm
or
okay with
Bateman?
Bateman. I'm okay
Cam
with it. But yeah, I'm truly in on Cam Akers. I think he's a buy, and I think he showed like everyone's concerned about his health and crap. I think he actually showed like if you watched I watched his last 4 games, every single touch he received, he actually looked really good running the football. Not just like looked good, the numbers showed as well. He averaged 2.7 yards after contact per attempt. That would have been 8th in the NFL this past year.
I just
in the
feel
NFL this
that
past
there's
year.
no upside in the receiving game, and the offense is going to be bad. I think it's not going to.
I know, but you have a quarterback. You have a quarterback situation where they're only going to dump off where they see pressure, and Akers has absolutely proven he can catch the ball. Not an elite level.
He has 27 catches in 29 games he's played in his career.
If
That's
you're
not
buying
proven
him,
he could catch the ball.
Yeah, I know,
That's
but a
not-
lot of those games he was hurt, not fully healthy. There was
Well,
games where
okay, so
wasn't
he
back.
started 14 games and he has 27 receptions total.
When you look at the
250
games where
yards.
he's truly the lead back, he's getting decent receiving work. Not anything special. I agree.
How
The
decent
upside
could
is
it be if there's
absolutely
only
limited.
27 catches in total?
Well, the last 4
not-
games, like what Hutch was talking about, last 4 games, he definitely got a little bit more. He had like what 8 or 9 catches.
Yeah,
he was
he
basically
had-
averaging like 2 for 20.
He had
in the
3,
receiving
2,
game.
1, and 3.
there's very
Exactly.
little
That's
upside
That's
for
not
his value.
No,
to go up. Even if he
I agree
produces
with
an
that.
RB2
His
season, even if he's
receiving
the
upside
starter for
capped.
the whole year, at his age now, with the injury history, multiple
younger than you
seasons
think.
of question
He's
marks,
25.
that's
He
considered
turns
old for a running
24
back. By
he
the
turns
end of the
24
year,
in June, just for the people to know.
Oh, really? 24.
Yeah.
yeah, with a torn Achilles, how high can he go? Let's say he finishes as
Not
an
very.
RB15
It's why I'm not
equivalent.
really in on him.
The market is not going to go crazy for him, even if he has a really good year, back end RB1 year. So the value, like
He's
upside,
kind of in that
it's just not
he's in that like
there.
range of dynasty where there's like a 20 to 25 player range where I'm like, can I just please skip these 20 to 25 players and either trade up to players I really want above them or trade down and get other players that I'm much more comfortable with the value below him. He's in that range. He's just a player that's like, okay, Cam Akers, whatever. I don't have any particular, his value's fine. I don't have any particular real opinion on him. He's there.
I think I do like what David said though, like the value isn't going to significantly increase even if he has a really good season. But if you're like a competing team that's looking to win a championship this year, Cam Akers could absolutely help you get there.
We
That's
know
the only
that-
spot you should be buying him.
But we all know
Contending team
that
in RB2 have plenty of assets already. You
The
know, have
RB2
wide
is the
receivers,
most weekly
quarterbacks.
replaceable position in fantasy football. We know that. We know that. It's the easiest one to replace on a week-to-week basis. It's the most volatile, the least valuable. Like that's the one I target last. So that's the last thing I worry about. So that's why all those players are just kind of mid for me. You don't see me with a lot of running backs in that range. I don't like any of them. It's not Cam Akers specifically. I just don't take them.
Yeah, that zone.
I like running backs later.
Like, why not
A lot
just
of-
trade back if you're going to start? Trade back and take Antonio Gibson in the 11th or 12th round.
I prefer Antonio Gibson at his cost over Cam Akers at his cost if I had to choose.
Yeah, but I don't see any tangible upside that much higher for Cam Akers than Antonio Gibson.
I think there's more upside with Cam Akers, but if I'm
Cam Akers should be a workhorse back.
based on cost, I like
Antonio Gibson does not have that upside at all.
Antonio Gibson's price is better. it's about 4 to 5 rounds later. So it's a non-premium asset. Whereas Cam Akers, you're still spending a relatively high pick that I would rather trade away or spend on something else. Okay. Yeah, we talked about this. If Eckler's reps do go out and seek a trade, watch out for Miami.
Ooh,
I could see that.
interesting.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if. We'll see. I think that's the kind of thing. Like, we'll talk about a possible trade when it happens, because I don't think that just because Eckler demanded a trade means it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think it's
not
a
at
four.
all.
This is not a
Chargers
four.
are not going to be like.
I mean,
But imagine though. I just want to throw this out there. Do the Chargers have their first round pick or no?
Yes.
They do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they do.
What if they
When
pick
you say
Bijan? What if you put
Bijan.
Bijan in that offense?
I
with that
think
Austin
given
Eckler?
Bijan's combine, I don't think Bijan's going to be there. I think Bijan's going to be gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they might have to trade up, but
I
just
don't think they're gonna
imagine.
trade up for
Just
him.
imagine.
Eckler clearly just he
Imagine,
wants to get
bro.
paid like how
Eckler doesn't
a lot of
actually
his
want a trade.
league mates.
Eckler wants a new contract, and this
Yes,
is
that's
what he
what
wants.
trying to
Yeah.
demand.
He's
one.
making $6 million this year, and then he's looking at
He
everyone else.
deserves
These
a new
guys making
contract.
12, 15 million. Like I
Yeah,
think
he
that's what he
deserves
wants.
a new
At least
contract.
10.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But
Mhm.
if what he's
So-
saying is, if you won't give me a new contract, trade me to a team that will.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that's
I
it.
think
I will say that Eckler would take a massive value hit going to Miami. I wouldn't.
Oh,
I would say
definitely.
just about
I
anywhere.
mean,
anywhere, yeah.
That's true. Where's he
honestly.
going to go that has as good of a quarterback?
And no competition.
And well, I mean, there's some competition, but
Not from
Kansas
the running
City?
back spot. Not
oh,
currently.
I mean, yeah, in terms of
what do you
targets.
put him in Kansas City? In that
But also,
offense?
like,
Well,
not
you
even
can
that,
check
but
out.
also
They're
just,
not
like,
trading
the
him to
connection-
Kansas
They're not
City.
trading him to
The
Kansas City.
connection. he
Yeah,
has
I would
with
doubt
the
that to the same
quarterback,
division. It's
too.
probably not going to work.
I think
but
the best.
still.
I mean, I don't know. What's the best scenario? I mean, what's the best landing spot if you could put him anywhere?
Yeah, because you want it. You want a
Miami's close
spot
to
where
the top. No, I mean,
you want a
what-
spot where it's a good offense, and then you want pass catching upside. That's
and
what
you want not a lot of competition. Miami's the best. And I mean, Miami's a good spot from a running. Oh, okay. Internet maybe fell apart there. I don't know.
I don't know. Where'd he go?
Where's the Miami's a good
Yeah.
spot. There aren't a lot of
Yeah,
good spots, you know.
There aren't. Yeah, it's
Oh, there
it's
you are.
really really weird.
What
That is
happened?
Sorry,
really
I went to go look at the landing spots, and I did it on our tab that I was.
Oh yeah.
So-
Oh, that's your classic StreamYard
Oops.
faux pas.
That is
Yeah, I would say
definitely-
Miami is a good landing spot, but I would still rather him stay on the Chargers.
Yeah, Tua definitely give
We
him a
have
lot of jump
certainty
off.
there,
There's very little competition
you know?
for running back spots there, and it's a good offense. It's a really good offense. I mean, you got
The thing
Tyreek
is-
Hill, you got Waddle, Tua. Like,
He was a top 3 running back in points per game. It's going to be very hard, no matter where he goes, if it's not the Chargers, to just have that level of certainty.
I agree with that.
So it's going to be hard
yeah,
to
100%.
find
Mhm.
anywhere that's not staying in LA for it to not be negative for his value.
Give Khalil Herbert receive 203. I'll take 203.
Yeah.
yeah,
Khalil Herbert is not even good.
203.
He's a
I
bad-
might take 303 for Khalil.
I wouldn't take 303.
No,
Only because I know you can sell him for more. But I do think
'cause
you
no,
can
'cause
probably
here's the
have better
thing.
bets at 303.
As soon
I
as
think
the
if
thing, I
Khalil
just like
Herbert ever-
Montgomery goes somewhere else, I feel like you might have a
a window to sell.
Yeah, here's the thing,
better
'cause with-
chance,
And I'd
a better
take
Khalil
window.
Herbert, I do like buying him in Dynasty a little bit, like if it's really really cheap because
But he's not cheap.
yeah,
He's
he's not.
getting
That's
the
the thing.
203.
If you
You're
can try-
sending him instantly.
Yeah, you could
I
try to
agree
find him
with
for
that.
cheap, but here's the thing: if Dan Montgomery leaves and there is even a window of time where
We'll be able to get-
Khalil Herbert is the lead back, people are going to be like, Twitter is going
He's
to be
one
head
that
over
I think
heels
everyone
for
like
Khalil
knows
Herbert,
that.
and people are going to go crazy. It's going to be a great opportunity to sell.
Yeah,
him.
I
a
think it's the
lot.
kind of thing though
But
that
it's one of
I've
those
seen
things you
people
should have
draft-
bought Herbert for a 3 and then be doing this deal now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
you should have bought Herbert for a 3
Yeah.
in November. But I think the people
And
who
then,
had
yeah.
Herbert know this is coming and this isn't going to work on them. I have seen people draft Herbert in January startups at a price I liked and then tell them to do this now. So I have seen that work. But for someone who's had Herbert the whole time, they probably knew this was coming. So it's
Mhm.
not going to work as well. But I would obviously take this. Allen takes bigger shots than Lamar. Yeah, but Allen's a lot bigger than Lamar.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Josh Allen is huge compared to Lamar.
yeah. I think I was mentioning that earlier. Compare Lamar to Josh Allen. That's scary.
They're not the same player. I don't know why
They're
people compare
not.
them.
No, because
They're
Josh
not.
Allen.
They don't have much in
Lamar-
common, really.
Lamar will juke
They've
you so
got
hard that you
plenty
break
in
your
common.
ankles, but Josh Allen will run through you.
I mean, they have as much in common as a lot of other players, but they're very different. They're not
Yeah.
the same person.
No,
Yeah.
but it's not unfounded comparison to make
No, they're both athletic quarterbacks that can run the football.
and are above average passers.
Yes.
Obviously, Lamar's the better rusher, and obviously, Allen's the better passer.
Yeah, Allen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Allen's a
I
very
mean,
different kind
yeah.
of passer.
Yeah, he's
Lamar's
just
actually
a
pretty
way
good
different
throwing
Bigger
tool.
short.
shots.
Actually, there was a study done on that.
What's this
Um,
one?
Lamar.
Give Watson, Amari Cooper, and 201 for Lamar and 307.
I like Watson a lot too. I feel like he's
I
a
don't
buy
like him at
too.
all.
I am not in on Watson at all.
You're even more. Hutch is even more out on Watson than I am.
Yeah, I'm kind of out. I don't think I think he's going to be good, but never great. I don't think that we're going to see him as one of those top guys anymore. Like, I just don't think
It's the kind of thing here where, like, I don't.
his contract for
want
the next few years is going to be so funny, though.
Watson,
He has a 64 million cap hit in 2024,
but
2025, and
given
2026.
given this price, it's
insane.
not even all that great. So
No.
it's adding It's adding like the 11th rookie, which is significant, and Amari, which is worth a lot more than 307, to go from Watson to Lamar. So like the value is probably on the Watson side, but
I guess I'm just higher on Watson than you guys. Like, I know you didn't think he was great. Like, coming off a long period, you referenced how, hey, is the same Calvin Ridley is just like Deshaun Watson. He obviously wasn't great, but he was not able to practice with the team
but
for
I'm
11
out,
weeks. Throwing in the last time he played, he threw 4,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks. He's still paced for 500 rushing yards this year.
If I'm
So
out
I'm
on
very much valuing him highly.
I'm out on Deshaun Watson. Hutch is way beyond.
I'm not out on him.
Because
He's listed as a buy in my rankings.
Because I'm not that out, I don't think, compared to.
You like where you have him ranked, like an early or mid second round pick in a startup draft?
I
I
have
have him
him
ranked in the first round.
16th overall.
What? What did you say, John?
16th overall. So
Okay, yeah, I'd probably be
overall,
around,
and
I'd probably be
it's
around
like
like 18, 20 if I
you're a
rank.
little bit
I
lower
don't have like I don't do like dynasty rankings like that, but I'd probably be like 18, 20.
You should.
overall.
I don't know why you don't.
Yeah, yeah. I could do that.
I think he's
you
still
know,
a first round starter.
Well, you have talked about. I mean, Hutch, you've talked about like starting a
Patreon.
Patreon.
That'd be I'd literally like
that's
that,
like a
that
must.
light bulb. That light bulb just went off in my head. I was like,
that's a
that'd be
must.
great.
If you don't have that, people aren't gonna go for it. That's like the first thing you should sell. So
that would be very great.
Yeah, that's something you should start doing because it's gonna help you. It's one of the
I should
biggest
definitely
things
look
that
for
helps me do this. Like when I'm doing this show, it's a lot easier. I can just look and say, oh, I have him ranked there. I don't have to be like, up in the air. I can just read it. And then occasionally we have something like with Ridley that happened earlier or other players where I'm like, I don't know if I like that rank. And then I can talk about it and change it after the show and go back and do some adjustments and changes. So it even helps you with that. Okay. What running backs do you think are being undervalued that you think are worth buying? Well, usually my answer to this is running backs typically are overvalued. Are there any that I feel are worth? Man, are there any that I really genuinely feel are undervalued and I'm actually buying at their price? Because I'm looking at the ADPs. Josh Jacobs, maybe, depending on the value. His recent ADP, I like, but I don't know if that's going to be,
I like Jacobs too. I think you can pivot off some of the other top running backs too and get a pretty significant plus, like pivoting off of
a lot of
ETN to get to like a Josh Jacobs.
I'm looking at these prices and they're not undervalued.
Yeah, I would agree in general. I would say
over. I'm just reading through the names. They're all overvalued.
Especially with this class. I don't want to go out and buy running backs, but there's one guy who kind of sticks out to me who I like as a pivot down target. That's Ramondre Stevenson.
I mean, ooh, that's a good one.
I think where he's
He's
going right now.
High, though.
But that's why I said as a pivot down target, because I don't love drafting him over the wide receivers in his range in a startup. But I do think you can
I agree with that.
Trade Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Josh Jacobs, maybe an Austin Eckler, some of these other running backs and get it. You talk about some of the upper guys, Saquon, JT. You can get pretty significant plus going to Ramondre Stevenson. Like if I could sell Saquon for Ramondre in a 2024 one, I'm certainly leaning towards the one side on that, I would think.
Yeah, and a running back that we're talking about the class. There's a running back in the class that I think is actually very undervalued. I think he's going a little too low in Dynasty Superflex drafts, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs. I feel like Jahmyr Gibbs could be the RB1 of a lot of classes lately, and I feel like Bijan Robinson's hype, well-deserved Bijan Robinson hype, is completely just throwing Jahmyr Gibbs in a place where he shouldn't be. He's an elite pass catcher. He is so quick on his feet. He's so good with the ball in his hands. And I think that he's going to be I think he could be a star.
If we include rookies, I would have Jahmyr Gibbs either at running back 7 or 8. It's close between him.
Well, I think it's funny to say if we include rookies, because I think that's the point you hit on here, is because if there is an undervalued running back here, it probably is going to be a rookie. We talk about someone who's got the upside.
Bijan is not
Bijan Robinson. Bijan is going to be RB1.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about who doesn't have a lot of value right now. So obviously we have Bijan and Gibbs, and then Charbonnet is getting up there. But the RB4 in this class, there are good profiles. And right now, the 201 is like a 10th round startup pick. We talk about guys like Kendre Miller. We talk about Zach Evans, Devin A-Chain, like these guys. I like Kendre Miller the most of the bunch because I think he's
same here.
He's an early declare. He averaged over 6.5 yards per carry for his career. He's got the size build. He's got the size build. So I could see
in my ranks.
One of those rookies, if they have a good rookie year, they're a lot more likely to go up into that 4th, 5th round startup range than a guy like any of these other veterans we could name who's undervalued right now.
I think I would rather have. I mean, it depends on where Gibbs ends up being ranked, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to rank him ahead of guys like Najee Harris or Josh. The aforementioned Josh Jacobs.
Ooh, that one's where we get a little spicy. Jacobs was the top 3 running back in points per game this year.
Would you have ranked over Jacobs?
I'll always take the years.
Gibbs.
But that's a lot of production.
I want
to
Gibbs
leave
over
on
Jacobs.
The table there.
I want Gibbs over Jacobs.
It's just the kind of thing where if I'm wrong and the production doesn't deliver on both players, I'll lose a lot less value with Gibbs.
But if you're rostering one of those players, you probably want a running back to produce like this year. Like if you're rostering Josh
Jacobs, I just don't.
I find myself Gibbs goes to Los Angeles to replace Austin Eckler.
Adding
because that would be.
I would probably take him over
hypotheticals.
Jacobs.
I mean, he's always
David. I see it. Yeah, you would take him over Jacobs then. Like
landing spot today, that's hard, man. Because even if you like Gibbs more for the long term, there's going to be an in-season market, and if people are rostering running backs and wanting them, there's a good chance you're able to trade Josh Jacobs.
I will say
Gibbs plus at some point in season.
If Gibbs goes in the first round, he'll be worth more than Jacobs. He'll be worth more because
if
running backs who go in the first round. The hit rate of running backs who go in the first round is very high.
Yeah, I will hear that. But pre-NFL draft, pre-landing spot, it's hard for me to take that.
I have my eye on Kansas City at 31, and I'm just like crossing.
Yeah, that's the
one that I want.
That's a spot. That's
Gibbs. If I could put him anywhere, it would be.
And it would be great though, because Gibbs in there, you have Pacheco, who's more of like a grinder style running back. And you get Gibbs, who's
it's funny. I have Philly as the I really don't want him to go there.
No, oh my God, you do not want Jahmyr Gibbs in Philly. Jahmyr Gibbs is not playing one of Philly because Philly
one before.
Yeah, because Philly does not throw the running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs, what you want for him in fantasy is the fact that he can pass.
No, you want Gibbs to take like a 70% share with majority receiving work, and working alongside Isaiah Pacheco is exactly the fit for him.
Yep,
to take 70% majority receiving share, and Pacheco can work on those harder yards.
Hell, McKinnon was a league winner in that role.
Oh, but that's exactly. You see what I'm saying, right? McKinnon.
Exactly.
Jerick McKinnon, 30-year-old Jerick McKinnon was a league winner.
He didn't score a ton of touchdowns that time.
If he goes to KC, he probably gets vaulted into the 102.
Jahmyr Gibbs could be an upgrade on that.
100%. Jahmyr Gibbs is in Kansas City. He's in the 102 conversation.
I think
right now, for
me,
he's
in
like the 103
I think Bijan is such an untouchable prospect that he'll be 101 no matter what. But
he could go to Baltimore and he'd still be 101 over Gibbs in Kansas City.
Gibbs, I think, would work his way into the tier of the quarterbacks in Superflex and the clear 102.
Right now, he's my clear 104, and it's not like it's like.
I think JSN's got a better.
I take him over JSN.
I have Gibbs at 6 right now.
I have
Gibbs is my clear 104. I'll take him over JSN every day of the week. And
take him over
every
Richardson?
day of the week?
I can't do it.
Every day. Yep, I'll take him over Richardson.
I can't.
I'll take
the upside with Richardson's so much higher.
Especially if you're managing a portfolio that every day of the week answer is just completely wrong.
I know the
Richardson is going to go in the top 5 of the NFL draft.
I really don't. I don't believe
Richardson goes in the top 5 of the NFL draft, like everyone is saying he's going to, then that's saying that it doesn't matter that I didn't like him. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The NFL loved him. Fantasy upside's there. Combine was, you can say it's double counting, but it's not.
Trey Lance went in the top 5.
Yeah, and you know what? If he had been healthy, maybe a lot of that
is still valued as a 3rd round starter.
He's still valued too high. After 2 years of nothing, he's still valued too high. He still has that insulation of value. A running back doesn't deliver. They go down very quickly after 2 years of failure. Trey Lance has done 0 in 2 years. You can still get a lot for him. So that's my argument for taking someone like Anthony Richardson. If he gets the draft capital, he's going to care. He has like the insulated value of insulated values. So I'll be taking him. If he gets top 5 capital, I'm going to be deciding between, is he going to be 102, 103, 104? I mean, I can't like not. Right? I mean, I feel like you have to. I do wonder where he's going to land, though. I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested to see
It's
where he
tough
goes.
because I feel like Stroud and Young are really good prospects.
Oh, they are. They are,
Yes.
absolutely.
Mhm.
It's hard
They
to
are.
pull.
I don't want to pass on them
Richardson
either.
over them.
I mean, you're talking about quarterbacks in a super flex. We have a problem with quarterbacks. I mean, there's like 12, 13, 14 guys you really like, but you need to start 24 in a super flex. 24 players start. There's like 12, 13, 14 you really like. So there's a shortage. If Stroud and Young come in and are just good, they're going to be valued as borderline first-round starter picks. So I'm not saying I don't want them.
I think it's kind of reinforcing to me that you really need to be holding 105 and like 106 until draft day, because
I have them. In Trade Addicts 8, I have 105 and 106, and I haven't even really explored moving them. I'm just holding.
We talk about if Gibbs gets a good landing spot, if someone takes JSN too, he gets a good landing spot. One of those good QBs, say they go to Detroit or Seattle, you're now getting them at the 106 because they're going to fall behind JSN and Gibbs.
I'm more holding it because when I get on the clock with the 105, depending on who's left, I can look at the teams that need X, Y, or Z and try to exploit them.
Yeah.
I have a
and
team
you can
that
sell more than one player. You have multiple
Well, it's also
markets.
the kind of thing where I have a team. I have Lawrence, Herbert, and Lamar. So, and then I have plenty of. I'm good everywhere, so I don't need anything. So I can just wait to trade it for whatever I want. But I agree with you. 105 and 106. I haven't even explored moving them. I'm just sitting on them. Yeah. Because they're gonna be worth the most when we're on the clock. That we definitely know. You just got to be active when you're on the clock. It's very critical.
That's like the end of that kind of like top tier when it comes to this class. The 105, 106, people are going to be desperate for those picks when they're on the clock.
I also have a lot of other picks, so it makes it harder for people to move up, which makes it more likely that they'll overpay. Love the content and takes. Appreciate the information. Yeah, no, I love doing this. It's been the longest show I've done in a while, but I don't even feel that tired, which is good. Trade Herbert on 24 fourth for 24 second. It's pretty good. I'll take it. It's not as good as the 203. That would have been better.
Oh, I thought he was talking Justin still. I'm like, wait, what? Wait, I'm confused.
Thoughts on Tyler Algier? I think he's better than people expected and better than I think the perception, but that's not going to stop Atlanta from adding another running back.
Yeah,
I don't think he's as good as people think.
I probably think he's about as good as you do.
That system was extremely running back friendly. I got the stat here, but I'm pretty sure every single running back in that system averaged over 4 yards per carry, averaged over
every back in that system was decently efficient.
Over 2 yards per contact after attempt, every single one of them. And we talk about like the PFF grades as well. Caleb Huntley is like grading, and he's got basically like a mirror stats as Tyler Algier. Like he was not any worse than Tyler Algier was. So that system, we talk about the Arthur Smith system with the quarterback, the read option, is benefiting whoever's back there. Tyler Algier's not going to catch the ball. He's not a great athlete. He's just was not a highly drafted player. He's extremely replaceable. I could see them drafting Bijan Robinson.
It's hard at 8, but if they trade down a little and then maybe do it, I do think though that regardless of who they draft or what they do, I would be stunned if there are no additions to the Falcons' backfield between now and the start of the season. I think there will be additions, especially on a team that wants to run this much.
They've publicly declared that they're looking.
Essentially, yes. We like Tyler, but we will be making additions. Kind of like I did with the show. We all like Tyler, but we've been making additions to the show. Because
that system was so funny.
That
system was so funny, though, and I still think about every once in a while.
Now they added Jonnu Smith to it.
Yeah, but when Mariota threw that pick in the red zone, and then they just went to 19 straight runs or whatever it was, I still think about that every few weeks, and I just laugh to myself. It's just like it was so funny. He was like, "I'm fed up with you. You're not allowed to throw the ball," and then he just went 20 straight runs, and it worked. It was where they scored. It was working for them. And
all right, let's get to the last couple. So, do you think Atlanta finds a way to get Lamar Jackson? I think that
that'd be tough. It'd be a big move.
That if Lamar Jackson has not signed a contract until after the draft, and it becomes a 2024 first and 2025 first to get him, which is what happens after the draft with the 2 first-round picks, that's a lot more appealing to teams. I think that there would be some teams that might be interested then that are not now. Also, after free agency is settled, teams that still have cap space, whatever, that somehow they have cap space to absorb a contract. There's ways you can structure it to do it. So it's a low cap hit year one and more in the future. But regardless, I think there will be some teams that kind of strike out in free agency in the draft, don't have a quarterback, and look after the draft. I don't think anyone signs Lamar to an offer sheet between now and the start of the draft.
It seems like nobody's going to give him the contract that he wants that the Ravens won't match. It seems like whatever anyone would give him is something the Ravens would match.
I think no one's interested in exploring that option right now. I think that after the draft in May, teams may take another look after they know they didn't get what they wanted in the first round and explore that option then. But I don't think teams are interested in doing that right now. I do think it's possible a team tries later. I really do not expect Lamar to sign any offer sheets before May, personally. And we'll see what happens then. But I will say it provides a cloud of uncertainty over the Ravens that this is kind of hanging over them until they sign Lamar or he signs the franchise tag, which is not like done and dusted until July 15th. Like July 15th is when all this stuff goes off, him signing with other teams, him being able to negotiate extension with the Ravens. That all goes off the table on July 15th, which is a long time from now.
Yeah.
So we just have to be aware of that.
I do feel like the longer this takes and just like the more reports we get, it's just like, I feel like it's going to be some team that is like more off the radar than we kind of think. Cause I feel like there's, there's a list of 10 to 12 teams that it kind of makes sense. They have the picks, the capital to do it. But it's just been so weird with a lot of these teams immediately coming out and saying, and yeah, it could be like, protect your current quarterback in case you strike out, whatever it is. But I just have this weird, it's just like feeling that it's going to be some team that's much more under the radar than a lot of these big name teams that he's been linked to over and over again, like Atlanta, for example. And so I'm very excited and curious to see where that is.
Yeah, I do think it'll play out later though. So we'll figure it out later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about Gibbs not getting red zone touches. He's smaller than other receiving backs that also get red zone touches. I think if he's good, he'll get them.
He's the same size as Chris Johnson and Jamal Jones.
I don't have this as a major concern. I'm not. It's not the red zone touches. What
Austin Eckler got red zone work.
I need him to go to a team where he's going to get receiving touches. That's very important. That's very important. You should be focused more. Teams give red zone touches to a variety of running backs, regardless of size. But his receiving touches, that sometimes some offenses just don't have those. And that is, I have noticed that just because you have a running back that's good in the receiving game does not mean that the offense passes to the running back. It's the one part of it that I feel like coaches stick to their scheme instead of exploiting their talent. So that is my one concern if he goes to somewhere like Philly. Really don't want him to.
I mean, who's a high-end running back that's good at receiving that doesn't get receiving work? I feel like talent dictates usage for that.
Not always. I mean, if
name
you
one.
Saquon Barkley
last year.
Saquon Barkley's receptions went out the window.
He had over 50 receptions.
No, it was fine, but it wasn't. If you notice, when we went from Eli Manning to Daniel Jones, the receptions went way down. It did.
What about ETN last year?
That doesn't mean Saquon's not demanding targets.
I'm just saying that it is something that I feel is controlled more by the surrounding scheme than by the running back itself. So
I wouldn't say more, but he had 57 receptions this year.
I think J.K. Dobbins can catch just fine, but he's been he's good in the receiving game, but he's stuck on the Ravens.
ETN, I feel like that's a better example.
That's fair.
Of someone
ETN's another one. J.K. Dobbins, like I said, is another
great. Yeah, but like we know ETN is a great pass catcher, and that's like what he was known
as. I don't know.
Plus pass catcher coming into the NFL, and he just landed on the Ravens, who don't throw the running back at all. Like,
yeah,
I think if J.K. Dobbins on another team would have had plenty of receiving work.
I'm not saying that it doesn't.
Yeah, Dobbins is fine as a receiver. He's not. I don't think he's anything special, though. I feel like
I agree.
I feel like he would have. I feel like he would have demanded something.
He's absolutely being limited by the Ravens passing ball.
Joe Mixon is another one. I feel like Joe Mixon is actually a good receiver, but he's stuck on the Bengals, who just for whatever reason.
He's had a plenty fine receiving career. What are you talking about?
Not really. It's never
Joe
been
Mixon.
It's never been what we want.
What do you envision Joe Mixon as?
I would expect Joe Mixon. This year was the first year we got 60 receptions. I mean, before this year, he didn't have a single year with 50. I mean, I would have expected him to cross 50
Yeah.
in one of the first 5 years of his
But
career.
he had above 40 twice. Like, I feel like
It's just not. Yeah, but I think he's better than that. I think if you were on other
that's a
teams,
high expectation. Like,
it
40
is.
reception
It is. If you're going to be elite,
good
it is. It's a high expectation for me. It is. I think he on other teams might have done a little bit better than that.
When you look at fantasy running backs, you have to, like, for pass catching work, if you want to truly be elite, like when you look at running backs for the past 5 years, just under 70% of them caught 50 passes at least in their season.
But again, Joe
Or,
Mixon's
sorry,
not a
received
guy
at
who
least
would
50
ever.
targets. Received
Joe
at least
Mixon
50
doesn't
targets, my bad.
profile to ever have
Like-
a ceiling above 60 receptions. That's not the kind of player.
Well, I just feel like he was low for his career. If he had been on another team, he
Yeah,
might
sure.
have
And I'm
hit
not
that
saying
50 a little bit.
situation
Injuries he
can't
dealt with through
affect
his
that,
career,
but
too.
I
You
mean,
got to put that into context as well.
I still feel
Well,
like
no,
he's
he's
been
played
within
16 or
his
more
range
games, 3 of those
as a
times.
running back, and obvious situations affect.
I just do feel that the quarterback and the scheme dictates running back receptions a lot more than maybe I'd like. So I do have some concerns if he goes to somewhere like Philly. So I will not that I'm not going to draft him. I'm still going to draft him, but I'd much rather he goes to Kansas City. Or there's quite a few other teams that I would be fine with, but Philly not on my list. Baltimore very much not on my list. Very much don't want him to go there. Bijan I don't care as much because Bijan is elite everywhere. He's elite everywhere. He's great at everything. I don't care where he goes. He's going to be excellent no matter what. I'm very excited about him, by the way. Very excited to see how far he goes. This is like a test, I feel like, for running back value in the current NFL. How high does he go? This is a test of where NFL teams are thinking. Does he go top 10? I think if this were 10 years ago, I think he would go top 10, absolutely. But where does he go now? How have teams shifted their thinking? So I think that's going to be very interesting. I'm just curious from kind of forgetting fantasy, just kind of from a curiosity perspective. But yeah, anyone got stuff they want to plug?
I think we plugged it pretty much for the most part at the beginning.
Follow me on
that
Twitter.
was 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at HutchinsonB_FF, and all the content I do, you can find from there. I host my own podcast and multiple jobs in the industry. Post all the time on Twitter. Got any questions, you can always DM me. So
I love that.
Always here.
Yeah, me as well. You can just follow me on Twitter at Guru Fantasy World, WRLD. As you can see, all the behind the scenes stuff you can get access to at the Guru Fantasy World Patreon. Like Tyler said, obviously we have to start with the rankings. You're going to get access to my top 250. Each player's also got a buy, sell, hold tag, a note listed, recommended trades to make with those players. Also going to get access to the tight end anatomical checklist. We're just charting every tight end, basically putting color coding on it so you can see the whole profile across the board. You'll get access to our Groove Fantasy World Discord. It's not just me. You can also ask other analysts like Akash and Nelly, who are both great follows on Twitter as well.
Oh, I love Akash. Shout out to Akash.
So definitely would recommend joining the Discord tier if you're going to join the Patreon. But yeah, that's where you can find all my stuff there.
Yeah. I actually didn't promote anything earlier, but yeah, if you're here and you watched the end of a 2.5-hour video, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel. My Patreon is in the show comment links at the bottom. And, I love Toronto Dave, and I've always appreciated his support over the last 2.5 to 3 years, maybe even some longer than that. I don't know. But a long time. So I appreciate him. Long time listener. And yeah, I just appreciate everyone who put comments in the chat, watched the show or anything like that. And, I thank all the co-hosts and guests for coming on. And I will be back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, covering the rest of the news in the free agency tampering period, talking about some other things we didn't get to today. And yeah, I will see you all then. Peace.